Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 110 of LostinTranslationmon. I'm May.
And I'm Jay.
And this week we watched Loosemon on the Loose.
Or Figd Susanumon. Loosemon reaches the human world.
One day you're going to stop making that joke, and it's going to be great because it's not a funny joke in the slightest.
Good luck.
And the second episode we watched this week was called End of the Line.
Or Go Beyond Time, the beginning of the now legend.
The beginning is the only, that's the only acceptable mispronunciation.
And now we go to DigiNews.
DigiNews. Alright, on to the DigiNews then. The DigiNews, as Jay would say. The first bit of DigiNews is regarding Frontier being released on DVD in Australia, and that's, I believe, happening in October. I don't actually have internet connection at the moment, so I can't actually verify. I usually do verify all the bits of news that I have just to make sure they're all up to date and current, just about an hour before recording. And because we've had no internet for 12 hours in my area, and I don't have much mobile internet left, it's October, probably the end of the year. It's in a few months. The point is, it's not now, which is when it's coming out when we're not covering Frontier anymore. And that's the truth. And the next bit of news is that we see a prototype of the Angel Woman Evolving Spirits toy. And it looks really nice, actually, like surprisingly nice.
Are its wings made of Tailmon's face?
Not that I can see. It looks strange. It looks like I'm not sure how they will get Tailmon into that. Unless they're doing like a very teeny tiny plotmon, but I'm not sure where all of Angel Woman would go. So it's just, it is really good. And it's just, maybe they just built the Angel Woman part and they say, oh, we'll work it out later, because it is just a prototype. But the point is, it looks very good and it is surprising. But I also don't have good eyesight, so I could be missing the fact that, Tailmon's wings are like, Tailmon's ears are the wings and what have you. It could be like the Sylphimon, which I love, but is the
worst toy. Yeah,
it's kind of weird. It's like, it's got a weird face and like it fits inside Tailmon and it's weird. On to NewsLatelymon. The Atmon chip Series 5 arrived, like the box, and I opened it and we did a video on it, and by we I mean me.
How often do they release these? It's still Season 1.
Yeah, but it's Series 5, which has, at the moment has the Ultimate 4 apps in it.
But how have there been 5 series when there's only been 1 season?
Yeah, it's a series of the Atmon chips. It's how they get money.
There's so many of them.
Yeah, and you use them with the Apply Drive toy and the Atmon Data Lab app. And also the fantastic 3DS game that is great, and I love it.
It's weird to think they had to pre-program all that stuff into the toy, which means that there were spoiler sound effects in there.
What do you mean sound effects?
They'd be like, they've programmed in the name of Charismon and stuff.
Oh yeah. Oh no, I discovered Charismon probably last year.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it just, they're not going to come out with their Atmon week to week.
No,
yeah.
But it's odd.
They have all their Atmon that they're going to show up in the show pre-designed and all their app links already determined. And of course, they're going to have the QR codes pre-programmed in.
Oh, they put more thought into it than in Frontier.
Though, it's also 2017 and games do update. It's not like, oh, well, there's the game. We can never fix it or update it. And if there's any problems,
your hardware doesn't update, though.
What do you mean?
The Apply Drive doesn't update. I think doesn't have connectivity.
Yeah, the Apply... sorry, I thought you were talking about the 3DS game because that was the last thing I said.
Also, those generally don't update either.
Yeah, yes, they do.
Sometimes. It's rare and it's difficult.
I always have 3DS game updates.
Individual updates? They had to release the weird one for Smash. We have to go onto the store and get the patch through there.
I've had... those are big patches. If they're just small, quick fixes, they usually just force them.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that's the thing, and so we did that video. So if you want to watch me open some box, you can check that out. And of course, whenever I open any doubles, they go straight to Sam Krieger from the Moncast because I love him and I have a pile of things to give. So the next bit of Lost in NewsLatelymon is that one of our listeners and friends, Kyle, sent us a Palmon Domes toy, and it's really cute, and I love it because we don't have them in Australia, and I'm really happy, so thank you. And so yes, a quick shout out, thank you for the thing, yay! And the last bit of Lost in NewsLatelymon is that you have 1 week to finish the Frontier end of season questions, poll and survey. There is a link to it on our website. It just says end of season questions. So we have the 4 listener opinion questions, which are what bits of Frontier either do you like, do you not like, favorites and stuff like that. Then we have the poll, what's better, Zero to or Frontier. Then we have the end of season survey, which has things like general questions about your opinions on on our show and of our quality and things we can do to improve, because we always do want to improve the show.
Bonus points for every answer that just reads, Frontier made me realize anime was a mistake.
Anime was a mistake.
nothing but trash.
Well, at least we can look on the bright side and say that Savers will be better because Frontier was bad. Like, Tamers was better because 02 was not
You
fantastic.
see, you say that, but I have no faith. None. We could get into Savers, and it's just like a weird, badly animated version of Teletubbies, but somehow with plot holes.
I don't think there are many plot holes. I know it's got a slow start, but only a slow start compared, like, it's the same as all Digimon
Compared
seasons.
to how fast Frontier was.
No, that was all slow start. I'm talking about, you know how Adventure and Tamers both sort of had like the generic first bit of chunk of episodes, which are kind of slow, but you kind of need them to explain the characters in the world.
Mate, I have a quick question for you.
Yeah.
When did Frontier start?
Episode 49.
Something like that.
Because I feel like 49 was actually not a terrible episode, but I guess we'll get to that.
Oh, they were all bad.
Comparatively.
Oh, they were all bad. Okay, you know how you know it was a bad episode? It had 3 full minutes of evolutions in it.
Yeah, but I mean, okay, we'll get to it.
That's how you know every time.
That's how you know.
Oh, no, that's 50. No, 50 is the one with 3 full minutes. Like,
No, it's 49. You got it right.
is it?
Yeah, it's 49 when they all human spirit
Oh,
evolve.
it's in my notes.
And they're all flying.
Oh,
up.
no, so it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
But
also a long one in 50, but
it's got good music in the English dub, so shut up. But I guess we'll get to that. And on to Obnoxious Synopsis. The first episode that we're watching this week is called Lucimon on the Loose, or Fight Susanomon. Lucimon reaches the human world. What will happen in this episode?
I think that Susanoo Omon will do a big fight, and after that, and he will seem like he might actually beat Lucimon, and then Lucimon will be like, haha, my big evil trick was to not necessarily win, but to back myself into going through the gate to the human world, and now I'm here, and you can't, and you didn't beat me, and also now that I'm in the human world, I'm stronger than ever and totally recovered. That's what I think.
Do you think anything will annoy you in this episode?
Obviously. Any of that. Just, I don't know. I think if it's just a big fighting episode and nothing happens and nothing... They're not going to explain ever that Koichi was actually dead, are they?
I don't know.
They're never
Maybe.
gonna. They're never gonna.
Do you think it'll be a good episode?
No.
What rating?
Bad.
Bad out of 10.
Yes.
Filler or not filler?
No, it's near the end of the show.
The second episode that we're watching this week is called End of the Line, or Go Beyond Time, the beginning of a new legend. What will happen in this episode?
To be completely fair, End of the Line is the only thing you could have named the last episode of the season. Because it's about trains.
Or Final Frontier, which is what we're going to call the episode.
No, that's much worse.
No, it's better, because I said it.
That's whatever. Star Trek reference. And the other one was something about time. Basically, the idea is, and you could believe this is the only thing that was ever planned from beginning to end, because it's the only thing that's even vaguely consistent, is the idea that the kids are reenacting the legend. Lucimon is there, and the 10 warriors have to defeat him.
Well, the most consistent thing in the whole of Frontier has been that legend.
Yeah, and so you kind of knew they were sort of building up to basically that happening again.
Yeah.
Which it is. And if only the legend had said, by the way, all of the 10 spirits fused together into one Digimon so they could have a one-on-one fight, that I'm sure that would have cleared a lot of stuff up for the kids, honestly. Yeah. And what I would really like, and what won't happen, is if it was like Pokemon writes in the book everything that happens, and he's like the historian of it all.
So it's like how in 02, where all of Adventure, both Season 1 and Season 2, were part of Takeru's book that he was writing because he became a writer?
No, that's not what I'm talking about. I don't mean like Pokemon was the narrator the whole time. I mean that in the future, when like it sort of implies that, 100 years from now, there will be other Digimon going like, ooh, do you know the legend of the 10 spirits, and they defeated Lucimon and all that? Mm-hmm. It was like the legend they are reading was written by Pokemon.
Oh, right. No, I see.
Yes.
So anything we'll know in this episode?
Yeah, if they like basically just defeat Lucimon and go, okay, the world's safe now, we're gonna go home. All right, that's enough of that. And that's the end of the story. And like essentially that the ending is done in such a way that if they'd never gone to the digital world, nothing would have changed.
Right. So you think it's basically going to be this back at the start again?
Which is to say that the entire season is filler.
Oh no, that's terrible. Don't say that. It's Schrodinger's filler. Do you think it'll be a good episode?
No, of course I don't.
You mean you'd hope it would be though?
You'd hope.
And what rating do you think you'll give it?
I think I'll give it the highest rating I expect to give any episode in the last bit of Frontier. 1.
Yeah, basically. Or maybe a 3. Filler or not filler?
It can't be filler. It's the end of the season.
Well, you said the whole season was filler, so...
It legitimately, again, could be Schrodinger's filler where you go the whole season, Because there's no other frontier, it can't be filler, but because nothing happened, it was all filler.
Well, you can say it's character development. Like, maybe the
No, you
kids come
can't.
back and say that they're developed as characters.
Not really.
Well, Tommy's friends with his bullies now, but will the bullies... I don't know. I'm not sure. Do the people have memories when they come back? I can't even remember what happens.
And once they get back and Tommy's not a Digimon anymore, are they still going to respect him?
No, he was a bear before. Now he's not a bear. He's just a nerd. So, do you think it'll be a satisfying ending?
Of course I don't. I don't think they're capable of it. Because, as well, there's nothing to satisfy at this point.
It's over.
No, it's not even that. It's just like, it was never good. So I don't have any expectations of the ending being good.
Any further predictions about the ending?
Not really.
Any hopes?
I hope they'll talk about how Koichi died, but they're not going to. I hope that we see a comprehensive bit of their families. We establish how much time went by. But I'm legitimately afraid, and I'm actually pretty sure it will happen, is that the ending is going to be Takuya gets home and they're just starting the birthday party and they've gone, you've been gone for an hour, where did you go? Oh, I was just having fun with some friends. Hey, it's all right now.
So you think it's going to be the same thing as an adventure where barely any time has passed?
Yeah, but at least with Adventure, that was until halfway through the season, and then because they went back and they moved around, and then the time synced up, like, time did pass. Also, everyone in the world should know what the digital world is, and in Try, it's weird that they don't, but whatever.
Well, they've been there for quite a long time. I think they said it was like 6 months as of the Angemon and the Bully episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, any other predictions? You're done with Frontier now?
What was done with Frontier a month ago.
Yeah, no, you were done.
Months ago.
You were done like 5 months ago. So, yeah, on to our final Frontier synopsis episode discussion.
Alright, time to die.
Time to die. So this week, since episode 49 and 50 were sort of like a two-parter, we're going to be covering them as one big episode instead of separately. So just a little heads up about that. So first up, in episode 49 in the English dub, we get a recap from Bokumon, and Bokumon calls the rock they're on a ridiculous rock, and I don't know why. It's not ridiculous. It saved them, and I don't know, it seemed weird that he called it a ridiculous rock. I know it's alliteration, and hey, I too dig alliteration, but it's not a ridiculous rock, but okay. And he also says how Neomon tricked him into telling everyone Koichi's secret, and how Koichi gave up his spirits to Koji, which isn't exactly what happened.
I mean, sort of.
Like, yeah, he gave up his spirits to Koji, but it wasn't, he didn't just, do it offhand, like, because he has previously also given his spirits to Koji.
Like, much in the same way that technically, if you write it in your will, you are giving up your car to someone after you die.
Yeah, but he had already given the spirits previously to Koji multiple times throughout the season, so the way he says it like this, it's like, oh yeah, he just did it anyway. Like, this is just something that happens. He didn't say, Koichi sacrificed himself and died, or what have you.
No, he just let him borrow him. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. No, he's fine. He'll be fine. He'll be fine. He will. Promise.
He will, though. Spoilers. He'll actually just be fine.
Which, you said you'd complain if they kept him dead, but in your notes, heads up, you complain. You complain anyway.
What do you mean?
You're always like, wow, I bet they're just going to keep him dead so they don't have to address the fact he has a brother.
I wouldn't complain about that, because then I'd be correct. I'd complain if they pull him back for no reason.
We have, like many episodes where you just said, man, I bet he's going to just be dead at the end.
Yeah, I never said I'd complain about it. I just said he'd be dead at the end. And in a lazy way. And you know what? I could admit, they had 20 seconds to acknowledge that he's not dead. True enough. But it's a huge cop-out now that they've done it to undo it.
But you said it would be a cop-out if they killed him.
No, I didn't. I didn't call it a cop-out.
I don't know.
Anyway, they had their cake. They wanted to have their cake and eat it too. Like, he died, but he's not dead. But did you feel bad because he was dead for about 30 seconds?
Yeah, it's meant to be a dramatic thing, but we'll get to that when it actually comes up.
In timeline, he was only dead for 30 minutes.
We'll get to it when it comes up. The episode starts with the evolution to Susanamon, which we had at the end of episode 48.
Let's replay the whole thing. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, the whole thing. Though I really like the music, as I said last episode, so I have no problem with that in the dub.
Where would you get the idea that they're trying to kill time in this episode? There's definitely nothing. There's definitely no 3 minutes of evolution later.
I guess I'll just say it now, but I liked this episode, so I did not feel like they were ultimately trying to fill too much time. I felt like it was necessary because it was the final episode and they're allowed to have their big dramatic things. Like, are we not going to mention that Adventure did the exact thing but worse because it were 8 of them, and they all evolved at the same time to perfect at the start of episode, I want to say it was 50. It was like the second last episode of Adventure.
Yeah, but Digimon sucks, so I'm not surprised that it sucked before and it sucks now.
I know, but it's like, this isn't just an exclusive Frontier thing. This is something that's happened in many seasons of Digimon. Or in 02, where they just had all their evolutions that they've ever had in the season. Sure, they split some of them up, but it still took longer than this.
Yeah, but that's irrelevant because it's bad. For example, someone commits murder, right? But that other guy committed murder. So, given that he did it,
Yeah.
my client should go free. No, it shouldn't.
I'm still saying it's fine for, one of the last few episodes to showcase some
No,
evolutions.
they should stop doing this.
I think it's fine. Anyway, so back onto the episode that we're up to.
It doesn't make any sense.
Lusimon says that Susanamon is insolent. In the dub, he says, "Well, I bid you welcome." And it's just so weird because he still has Izzy's voice in the dub. And from what he's saying, it's just so strange. Then in the original, he says that all Digimon are fated to obey him. In the dub, he says how all Digimon must follow him, and if they do, they will live, and they will live forever. And they cannot allow anyone to not follow him. So it's basically exist or obey. But if you do obey, you'll live forever. Like it's do not exist or obey.
He doesn't make a very good argument considering A, clearly not everyone does serve him because he got imprisoned all that time ago.
Yeah.
And he lost. So he has a history of losing. And then he says, if you obey me, you'll live forever. But you just ate the Royal Knights and we all saw it.
Yeah.
Like everyone...
Though, to be fair, the kids killed the Royal Knights. They were about to absorb them anyway.
Well, what sort of promise is you'll live forever if you won't live forever?
Unless
if someone can just fight you to death.
Yeah, okay, it's basically like, I won't kill you, or I will kill you.
And also, every single Digimon who has followed Lucimon is dead now. All of them.
I guess Cherubimon was kind of like unknowingly following him.
Every evil Digimon that could even be slightly aligned with Lucimon is dead.
But Cherubimon didn't know about him, I'm pretty sure.
Maybe. Well, I mean, Cherubimon was aware of him once.
Yeah, once, but I don't believe he was aware of him coming back.
Because I think we reasoned at the time that he wasn't actually working for Lucimon.
He wasn't.
Yeah, like, it would have been really clever if they were like, oh yeah, Lucimon was manipulating Cherubimon, but he just wasn't.
Well, maybe he helped him become evil, but didn't do it, like, hands-on. Like, he had an effect giving him the evilness that overcame him, and maybe did some evil whispering in his ear because he's basically a god.
No, he just made him evil, and that was it. Like, there was no other part of the plan.
But to be fair, Cherubimon was rather sympathetic because he was kind of just anxious about people being racist towards him, and that's understandable.
I mean, sort of.
Well, that was kind of his thing, like, oh, I'm the minority of this 3-person group, and they're meeting privately to discuss things.
I think the problem is that any discussion of racism needs to be backed up by a story that makes it understandable why that was relevant. And this is a story where it tells you in the past the whole beast and human thing was relevant, and in the future it's never brought up. It's not even that it's minor, is that no one talks about it. It didn't happen to these people.
Well, probably one of the best things in Frontier, and we saw this in the movie, was the whole beast-human thing, the whole conflict, the whole backstory, and the whole lore of Digimon Frontier and the world there is rather interesting. And the way that they go about it in the movie was quite not terrible. And
that's what is that? Oh, it's quite not terrible.
Well, it's
I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying, as far as not being terrible,
I think it's all right. Like I think the movie was all right, and I think that you liked it. You said this is the best bit we've seen of Frontier so far.
Yeah.
And I think it continued to do that.
However, it's made double non-canon by this episode, not the next episode.
Well,
because
the movie just is not able to be placed at any point.
It's not even about
Frontier.
timeline. It's when they said, "Look at these 2 legendary warriors, Ancient Greymon and Ancient Garurumon," and then in the next episode they go, "Look at all of the legendary warriors. This is who they were."
Well, we've seen what they look like before. When Barrowmon was talking to the kids and giving them all the backstory and prophecy, he already mentioned them. So that's fine. That's not a plot hole or anything. The ancient spirits existed, but Susanamon is the combination of all the ancient spirits, and it's the new ancient warrior Susanamon having the power of the 10 legendary warriors.
They're talking to, like, what's his name? What's the fire one that...
The Gunimon?
Yeah. They're talking to Gunimon. It's like, you're the legendary warrior. He goes, yes, I fought Lucimon and stuff. Like,
Oh, that happened?
He doesn't say I fought Lucimon, but it's like they refer to them, you guys are the legendary warriors, huh? Because you're the spirits? Yeah.
Well, no, the human spirits are based off the ancient spirits. The ancient Greymon, ancient Garurumon, ancient Irismon, ancient Megathramon, I can't remember the rest of them, ancient Volcamon, I
Did
think.
they name them all?
Yes, they're in the card games.
Okay, the card game's not
and
canon.
in the Digivice toy.
Neither of those can be possibly
Ancient
relevant to the show.
Irismon is the best.
Okay, if you watch this show without having seen the movie, what other conclusion could you possibly have other than these are the same spirits as back in the day?
Well, we saw their silhouettes, and they're not these spirits.
Did we?
Yeah, when we first got some prophecy, like in episode 8 or something.
I need to see that again.
They
And
were all,
I refuse to look at it again, so
and
here
then,
we are.
And then we actually saw what they looked like when Barramon was giving them prophecy in that tunnel of prophecy or whatever it was called.
Tunnel of love.
It was a tunnel of something. It was a tunnel of, I'm going to throw some exposition at you and hopefully it works.
Tunnel spaghetti against the wall.
Basically.
The Spaguda cannon.
The Spaguda cannon. The Spaguda tunnel. So then Lucimon uses Paradise Lost, which in the dub is renamed Paradise Lost Punch. And Susanomon is able to attack and hit Susanomon.
So you mean the cat
Lucimon.
punch?
Yeah. Like bum 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 bum.
My favorite thing about this is he does all the punches and stuff. He's like, and he hits, the last time, and Susanomon flies over, and they're like, oh, that hurts. And they get up, and the phrase they use is, I'm not foolish enough to fall for the same trick twice. You know, the trick of getting punched a lot? That's the trick they're not going to fall for.
Well, to be fair, they don't want to be punched anymore. I think that's something they don't want to have to happen.
It's just, I always go to the extremes, but it's like someone stabs you and you recover in hospital. And then they come over to you again, they stab you again, you're like, haha, and you're bleeding out on the floor. I'm not going to fall for this trick again.
Yeah, as you slowly crumble to your knees and fall backwards.
I learned my lesson. Now knives can't hurt me.
What doesn't kill me makes me stronger.
That's the worst. No, like what doesn't kill me can make my legs not work forever.
I can get immune to punches. You just get enough punches and one day you're just immune to them. That's how
punch vaccine.
Isn't that how immune systems and vaccines work?
Yeah. It needs to register the what are they called? I don't remember what the little things on the viruses are called.
Antibodies. No, the fur.
The signal things on the end.
Receptors.
Sure, maybe.
I don't know.
Whatever.
Receptors, yeah.
Let's move on while I show how little my biology I remember.
Yeah, I haven't done biology since year 11, and that was... It was year 12. Yeah, it was year 12. And that was 6 years ago, I think.
I never won any golden biologies. That's an Australian joke that didn't land.
What about the science talent search?
What the hell is that?
Oh, didn't your school do it?
No.
It was really great. I made a game once for it. It was like this thing that public schools did.
Well, that would be why we didn't do it.
Yeah. It was really fun. It was the best. You could do anything. They'll give you a theme and said, do something regarding this theme. So I made a game.
One time, friends of mine made a parody of I'm on a Boat, but it was about covalent bonds. It was called I'm on a Bond. It's really bad.
I don't think I want to know. Anyway, let's go back to Digimon.
No one was the lead singer.
Oh my god, I want to see that. Is there footage?
I don't know if we can find it.
Please find it one day. Okay. Anyway, back to the show. Lucimon attacks again and the music stops. And this is something I always appreciate in the original version of Digimon, is that they have that with the won't moment of, oh, they're losing now, and the music stops or fades out. And it was the same in Adventure when Greymon evolves to Skull Greymon and Braveheart's playing. And yeah, we're going to get an evolution and Greymon's evolving. And then you see Skull Greymon and Braveheart stops.
I know. It's just such a weird moment here where this seems to happen in Frontier a lot. And maybe it's the whole thing about people giving Frontier credit for the kids losing a lot.
Yeah.
But Frontier really likes to go, look, a new evolution. Isn't it awesome? And then that new evolution loses immediately. Because I don't want to chuck it into a... they have to win instantly when they evolve sort of thing. But that's sort of how the show is built up.
It should go. It's like, oh, we're not strong enough. Oh, wait, we can evolve now. Now we are strong enough. And that, no, for the most part, that did happen in Frontier. They were able to win, except for Izumi, who, in her first evolution episode, got saved by Lobomon. And in her second evolution episode, she just kind of, upset the character enough because she was hot. And then she flew away.
Well, I think when Koji had his double spirit evolution, he was still he was still very even in the fight with Duskmon, and now, for example, Susanamon shows up and he gets punched in the face super hard, and he's like, oh no, I'm so damaged. Like, he pretty much instantly loses. Then Lucimon's like, haha, I will trap you in the dark area, which is where they already are.
Yeah, I think that might be more a reference to his attack rather than where they are. I think that might be just a mistranslation because the area that they're in is the dark area, but maybe he has an attack called dark area.
That's dumb.
So Lucimon's explaining how, he can't just be beaten so easily because he's not just the old Lucimon who could be beaten by the ancient spirits. He's the new Lucimon. After being trapped in the dark area for so long, he's been getting stronger and stronger, and now he's evolved to a better form, and they can't just defeat him as easily as they did before.
It's the first reference he's made to I'm different to back then. So it's the first reference he's made to I've actually lost before and I know what's going on here and I've seen the spirits before.
Yeah, previously you could have taken that prophecy and just removed it from the series, and I feel like Lucimon's lines until this part would have made sense.
It would have changed nothing because Lucimon's story had nothing to do with having been trapped before and having lost before. It just was, there's an evil thing in the core.
Yeah, he should have mentioned that at the start, saying, I will get my revenge against the ancient spirits or something, but he didn't reference it until this part, and this is when I noticed, why would you not reference this? This is what you've been building up since the start of the show. When you first mentioned, the ancient spirits who you have the spirits from, they fought Lucimon. When we first heard that, I think it was the Evolution to Chuckmon episode, they sort of have been building Lucimon up. Even though it's sort of like, they didn't straight up say, he's coming back. They just said, yeah, this was Lucimon. Everyone beat him once before. And so if it's building up to this, but then when they actually have Lucimon in, they don't actually address, this is the same Lucimon. It could just be a different Lucimon. We know it's not, but it could just be like, it's a Lucimon's brother or something.
Do you know what the coolest thing about stories with like ancient legends that like that the main characters have to reenact is?
The ancient legends are usually well established.
Not exactly, but when it's specifically a reenactment or when people are reborn of certain things, and they have to fight like the ancient enemy who lost back then. This happens a lot, honestly. This, or similar themes to this come up. The coolest thing is when like the bad guy talks about the individuals, like talks about what happened, and Lucimon pretty much never does that. He references that he was there, and he's different now, but whatever. I mean, like, when in Avatar, you go back in time and you see what the other avatars did, and all the decisions they made, and then when people talk to Aang as if they're talking to those characters, because they go, you're representative of them. So, like, there's a filler episode where one of the old avatars, the Earth one, broke an island, and now Aang is on trial for something they did. And you're like, that's really cool because there's a story there, and a new character has to deal with the old stuff. There is a story called Pact, where it's a family who are like they're demon wizards, like they're summoners basically, and it's all very evil. But they have a demon in the attic, and it's been there for generations. And it can't tell the difference between humans. And also it has no sense of time. So every time someone goes in, it thinks it's just continuing a conversation it has been having with one person.
Oh, damn.
And so everyone has to keep track of what they've said and go in with the knowledge of the whole conversation.
Right.
And it's really cool. And in this situation, it would have been very interesting if Lucimon was talking, and if this had been a theme throughout the whole series, but Lucimon's like, Agunimon, I remember when we had this fight, we had this conversation, because stuff would have happened, and Lucimon would have remembered it all.
Or even having memories and saying, he's fighting the same way that ancient Greymon fought.
Sure.
Like, link up Agunimon to the actual spirit that he's meant to be derived from.
But it comes out that, like, Agunimon and all the other spirits are sentient beings who aren't the kids. Like, it is sort of established through all of Frontier that the spirit evolutions are just suits of armor you put on.
Yes.
And now you're a Digimon, whatever. But at the end of the show, it establishes that is not the case. They are real Digimon who have opinions about what happened, who have emotions and personalities.
Yeah, but
in fact, one of them learned Italian.
Yeah, but those personalities have been taken from the kids, basically. So they're new Digimon, sort of.
So they're clones of the kids?
Yes.
That must suck.
I got that impression that they weren't Digimon before. but these spirits sort of melded with they were a combination between the actual ancient spirit. So, for example, ancient Arismon and Izumi made Fairymon.
See, I never got that sense because A, they never said it, and B, the phrase "you learned Italian" means before you didn't know it, so you couldn't have been this girl who always knew Italian.
Well, she never had a character before. Like, Fairymon, well, she still doesn't have a character. Fairymon wasn't really, didn't have sentience.
Agunimon was implied to have one because when Takuya would look at his Digivice, it would be there, nodding at him, having opinions.
But that was after they'd have quite a few episodes. It wasn't before Agunimon was shown to be with Takuya.
But
so
the spirit
I think
had to be someone before.
I don't think so. I think these spirits were just sort of designed off the ancient spirits, but I also think
says what in the show?
I also don't think the Frontier had planned where they came from or
Boy,
what they
did
were.
they not.
They basically said they are sort of like the legendary warriors, but didn't go much beyond that. They didn't say the legendary warriors planted these. They weren't created for the kids, like how the armor eggs were planted and created by the holy beasts.
I was about to say that the crests are the same, but no, the crests were made in the lab. We saw that.
Yeah, and same with the armor revolutions. They're like, well, Ken's Digivice is stopping them from evolve. Let's give them armor revolutions so we can fight them.
It was a really lame explanation, but it was an explanation.
Yeah, it was sort of okay, but it was an explanation that went, okay.
The better question is, what happened to the beast spirits, and aren't the beast spirits stronger?
I always thought that they were the perfect level equivalent, but having watched it again and actually thought about it, I actually think that they're sort of in the same realm of strength as the two different armor evolutions. You know how we had Holsimon and we had Shirimon?
I mean, kind of, but if you think about it,
which is sort of like human and beast in a way.
They always got the beast one second.
Yeah.
And they could use the beast one to overcome the situation they were in because...
And they were harder to control.
Yeah. And also, take, for example, Grottomon, they would break even on a fight and he would turn into Gigasmon or whatever and then he'd kill them all.
Mm.
The beasts were demonstrably stronger every time they showed up.
And they didn't really use them after the Evil Spirits arc.
Yeah. Which begs the question, in this episode, when they all turn into the human spirits, why?
I think it's because those are the ones that are derived from the ancient spirits the most, maybe.
And what relevance does that have?
It's
to this
also
fight?
meant to be nostalgia for the start of the season, but to be fair, we also haven't seen Slight Evolution since probably the Cherubimon arc when Koji and Koichi were fighting. I think that's the last time we saw Slight Evolution. I don't think we've seen Shutmon for quite a while, right?
Yeah, they're gone. Don't worry about
where's
it.
Zephyrmon? Where is she? Where is she with her no pants?
Also, they're like, oh, I remember the 10 spirits currently fighting 5 children.
What do you mean?
Lucimon's fighting, I'm not how I was back then when I lost to the 10 spirits. No, you're fighting half the number of individuals. You'll be fine.
Well, it's different because the 10 spirits are the 10 legendary warriors rather than the 10 spirits being...
Yeah, but there's only 5 warriors fighting.
Oh yeah, but there were only 5 of them there. No, but when there's Susanomon, that's the 10 spirits.
I know, but then after that... Because, okay, they're really unclear about what is more powerful, more warriors or more spirits. Because it is implied by the actions of the kids this time that they would prefer to have more warriors in play than more spirits.
I think it's because, and this is kind of shown in the bit we're actually up to in the moment, so in the Susanomon-Lucimon fight, there's an attack and Koji and Takuya says, what are we going to do? We have to do this for Koichi. What do we do? And they split. And it's kind of like in V-Tamer when they split.
I was about to say, it's stolen straight from V-Tamer.
But it's the opposite.
But it's also terrible.
Yeah. And it's also the opposite of we split to avoid your attack instead of when we formed again, it was straight in the middle and that's how you could attack us both mid-evolution.
Well, I mean, he only did it once so Lucimon couldn't figure it out, obviously. Also he's not controlled by Tai, who's awesome.
When have we had this power?
Yeah, okay, it's the first time it's ever happened. It has happened in a weird way where they've come out and they're still naked, spirity.
And they have the spirits around them.
They're not fully out, and then they reform. And I want it noted that they appeared to know they could do this. They're like, I have an idea, right? It was a plan.
There was no foreshadowing of this happening before.
No, but that's what's important is how they foreshadow a lie later, okay? They seem to... They're fully in control of this. I have a plan. This is what we'll do. They split up, and they split up into a small enough area that they would have still been in the attack. But whatever, fine.
Yeah, the attack was quite large.
Because if they moved upwards and away from it, which is what is kind of implied, then they could have just had Susanomon do that instead.
Yeah.
They didn't have to split. If you have a loaf of bread in jail, I know this is dumb, but keep in mind.
As you do, you usually have a loaf of bread in jail.
It's in a box, fine. Yep. It's in a box. And you cut the bread in half. It's still in the box.
In a box?
It didn't get out from being in half.
Look, maybe you could argue, oh, this is because in episode 50 they split from Susanamon, but like, no, Susanamon's still there. The kids split from him.
Yeah, that's so...
The spirits and Susanamon are still there, so it's like completely different.
That was also really confusing, and we'll get there. So
I like
they split apart because whatever, and then they just put themselves back together. Again, something they had total control over.
Yeah.
And so now they're back to fighting.
Oh, I also want to say something else. When we were talking about how the 10 spirits being strong together back in the Royal Knights arc, when the two kids, when Takuya and Koji were able to fusion evolve with all the other spirits and have those two, and we found out that it was stronger just to have the 10 spirits all together.
Well, sort of.
That is, I guess, now I think about it, arguably like foreshadowing Susanamon saying all the spirits together are stronger, so when they form with all the spirits.
There's no chance that was intentional. The only reason that scene existed was to have the evil spirits come back and for it not to be weird and unbalanced.
Yeah, but also, I wish the evil spirits came back with some sentience.
Nah, don't worry about it. They're just evil. So, Susanamon pulls out a big Power Rangers style, like, combine gun. Yeah. This is the kind of weapon they'd always have to finish off, like, big evil bad guys with the Megazord.
Yeah.
And then it's actually a sword. And
it looks like a gun. I thought it was a gun until he made it a sword. I'm like, okay, I guess that's what we're doing.
Have a weird moment here. How big is the dark area?
Well, presumably it's the core of the digital world.
But we see it from space, and it's like there is much more dark area than there is space between the dark area and the train tracks that are left.
Okay, so I think either the animation is inconsistent.
That's what I'm going for, because it is.
Or they're implying that the dark area has grown as the digital world was eaten. Because when we first saw the dark area, like 5 episodes ago, Lucian was like, yes, my Royal Knights. When he was in the center, the dark area was basically like, he looked like he was in a womb.
So the only explanation for this, and I don't think it's accurate, but the only explanation is that the inside area that they're in, because that inside area is 100 meters.
Yeah. Okay?
It is small. That is a 100-meter sphere. That's tiny. So they're standing in that, and then there is miles, like thick outer layers of this dark area.
Yeah.
Because planets are big, and this takes up most of the inside of the planet.
Well, we don't actually know how big the digital world is.
It's big enough.
That they need trains, yeah.
Oh, hold on, though. Okay, so it's big enough.
Look, I still maintain that it grows.
It's big enough they need trains, but it's small enough that you can see train tracks from space. That's tiny.
Yes. Or the train tracks are really big.
We know they're not, because they're normal size to the kids.
I also think maybe it's a thematic thing.
Also, I think it's badly drawn.
And then when we had... No, the moons are actually bigger than the digital world. Do you want to know why?
Why?
Because when we have the zoom out of the digital world, we see the tracks. When we have the zoom out of the tiny yellow moon, we see no tracks.
There are no tracks on that moon.
There are.
No, there aren't.
There's the Trailmon track that arrives there.
There might be one, but even if there is one, it might not show up in that zoom out.
We would see the line going...
No, we wouldn't. It's really foggy. You can't see it.
It's foggy.
It's foggy.
Foggy
or
in space, all that
if it was to go
fog.
laterally around the top, you would never see it in a 2D picture of the front.
But we're looking at it from the way that the digital world is looking at it.
Yeah, so?
You should be able to see it coming towards you.
No, the track goes around the back of it.
I feel like you're trying to defend something that's indefensible.
I agree. So what? It's also not indefensible. I mean, I've put up a perfect defense.
No.
It's perfect defense. There's one train track, which we never... By the way, there's nothing saying that train track has to make it to the moon. It just has to pass the moon, and the kids had to jump off.
Yes.
The train never went to the moon. That's why the Trailmon wasn't there at the beginning of that episode. Do you believe me yet?
Okay, I see what you're saying, but I still feel like
You've given me too much credit.
I still feel like it makes no sense.
Oh, it does! Anyway.
So they attack him, and Lucimon is split into 2 eggs.
Let's establish. He doesn't move out of the way. He sees it coming for 30 seconds, and he's like, oh no! Oh, I'm dying! Yeah, it's a slow attack!
Yeah, he essentially screams the whole time. He does that anime thing like, oh no, I'm about to be attacked in 10 seconds. Better stand still and scream really loudly and have like a face of shock. Better not move out of the way.
So before he becomes eggs, he becomes data, which they scan. Double scanning you.
Yeah, so he holds out the 2 detectors, and it looks really weird because this is the first time in, I want to say like 15 episodes at least, where they remembered, we can scan data.
And there's like no big flourish to it. He just holds them out in front of him.
Because they didn't want to draw an animation that they they were not going to use. Like, the same thing happened for the fusion spirits against Cherubimon. We just saw a close-up of the Digivice's, like, screen because they didn't want to animate it.
And all the data goes in, pretty much, except, but we'll get to that.
No, but just, sorry, before we get to the thing that they completely ignore for no reason, is that the strange thing is, how big do you think those detectors are? And how big do you think Susanomon is?
Susanomon's big, and so the detectors, which fit in his
Look
hand,
bigger.
they fit in his hand either the same size or larger as they are in the kid's hand.
They look larger.
But since his hands are the size of the kid's, that means that these detectors have grown. I didn't even think about that.
No, they are not just the size of the hand. They look bigger than his head.
But
it is the most, because you would think Susanomon, when you first see him, is like, oh, that is a giant Digimon. Like,
actually,
he's
when the
large,
kids
he
pop out the
bigums.
back of him, we know that his hand is probably about the same size as the kid's torso.
Yes. But why is the detector suddenly the size of a kid's torso and
that
not
means
bigger?
that each detector is like 3 feet tall. That's like this.
Yeah, it's his bigums.
This show is so bad.
Like, it's like, I guess they kind of had to make it look cool when they held it out. But
No,
it was
have
so
them
weird.
each held between a thumb and forefinger. Just have it be small.
I want him to be balancing on his fingers, like he's doing do 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 do, and his detector's like balancing on the top of his like it's on the top of middle finger because he's putting up his middle
I
fingers
was
to
gonna
the
say, if you
preps.
wanted to look kind of cool, I'm sure you could have had it like embedded in their fingers, or have it be like all of the other evil Digimon. Just absorb it into your
Or
hands.
have it on like a big poking stick. Or alternatively, balance it on your nose because Susanomon has like a bit of a nose, so he just like do 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 do.
Okay, that's definitely enough.
I just
So
feel
it
like
leaves
that should
behind
happen.
2 eggs, as you mentioned. One is good egg, one is evil egg.
Let's look at
And
the good one.
And so, no, they only see the good one. And the good one grows up and it goes boom, and there's all this data everywhere, and it gives birth to the digital world, which they will never mention again.
And I want to point out, you know what it doesn't give birth to because there's no data that was scanned of it?
What?
The moons.
Well, one moon was destroyed. The other one's fine.
No. In that they said all 3 moons were destroyed
What? Why?
because it was a Bigum's attack.
That's
He destroyed
dumb.
because they were very close proximity to each other. All 3 moons were destroyed, but they were blown up. And since there was debris, they were not absorbed. So all I can get to this is that because all the Bergamon died on the digital world, right?
Yeah.
And they are all canonically not born on the digital world. They are all born on the moon. Bergamon are now actually extinct.
No.
No, and in their episode they say Bergamon all originally come from the moon.
True, but if they die on the planet, their data still goes to start a village.
No, all Bergamon are born on the moon. It's a fact. All Bergamon born on the moon.
Oh, well, fair enough. That's
So-
like how Imperial Dramon's the strongest one of
Yeah.
all. They
Berg-
said it must be real.
Yeah, they said it must be true.
Definitely not Schrodinger's filler at all.
This show wouldn't lie to me. So
Oh, boy, would it not.
all the
So this-
all the Bergamon are extinct, by the way. That's the saddest thing that's ever happened in Frontier.
So then, all the kids are like, we did it. We won. And I'm like, check the title of the episode, you idiots. Lucimon gets to the real world, huh?
Yeah, Lucimon on the loose. He gets loose at some point.
So then, there's this big evil egg there.
which is growing.
And no, it's not even that. When it's still small, first of all, it was right next to the good one.
Yeah.
Second of all, it has these big streams of data coming off it, which are bright. And you'd think when you were scanning data, you would have looked forward and seen there was more there.
Yeah, it makes
There
no
is
sense.
no reason in the world that this would have still been there and they never noticed. And the worst part about it is that they admit that they didn't notice it.
Yeah.
It's not like we didn't think it would be a threat. Oh, the egg's doing something.
But it's not like it was hid. It didn't, disappear or it didn't hide somewhere in the dark area. It wasn't camouflaged or anything. It was very visible and literally right next to the good egg, which they were looking at.
Well, let's-
It would have been in their line of sight.
Let's change the scene slightly. Oh, he got scanned into 2 eggs. That's weird. Hey, one of them made the digital world. Oh god, what's that one doing? That's the same scene, but they noticed it and nothing changed. And it makes total sense. Now this time, oh, the digital world's pretty. And then Takoyaki, it's just in my head now.
Is his name?
He goes, is that a black egg? What's he doing? How did he only just notice it?
Or what could have happened, which would have made more sense and would have explained why they ignored it, but it didn't happen, is that the egg is there and all the data disappears. But as the data disappears, it leaves behind the black egg, and the black egg is at the center of the good egg.
It could have been. You don't know. But yeah, like there was one big white egg. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a big white egg, and they're like, okay, there's all the data.
The problem with that is that all the data came off Lucimon, and the egg was when he disappeared. Whatever. So it grows, it grows really big, and they're all like, huh, that's weird, right? Yeah, eggs don't usually do that. It's still growing like to planet size. Like that's weird.
Can I please point something out?
Yeah?
The kids seem weirdly okay with their friend who was just murdered in front of them.
Yeah, they're over it. Don't worry about it.
Like, they haven't mentioned, oh man, they haven't lost hope at all. They haven't said, well, a kid super died, but look at this pretty digital world we didn't know existed.
Look, if that was like, was it last episode, 2 episodes ago?
That was literally last episode.
If it was last episode...
It was about 5 minutes ago.
If it was last episode, that means for the writers, it was a week ago, because they wrote the scripts a week apart, you know,
yes, of
right
course.
the day before the episode was meant to go out.
Yeah.
So but for them, it was a week ago.
But
for
they showed it in the recap.
It was 5 minutes.
They showed in the recap.
Yeah, that doesn't matter, because that's different. That's handled by a different department.
The recap department.
For the kids, it was 5 minutes ago. It's so weird because the last 4 episodes all take place, I think, within the span of an hour. Like, there's no breaks here. And it's all just, it's once they get to the dark area, they have a big fight and they go everything happens in an hour.
Yep.
The show does not treat it like it happens in an hour. The show treats it like it happens in 3 weeks. Or, 3 full days, each episode being 1 day.
Yes.
And then not. So the egg's getting really big and they don't seem to care. And they're like, oh, so the dark area was that all its evil data wasn't scanned, except you did, but it was in that egg, and instead of scanning it now, you just have to watch it grow. And also it's going to give birth to a really evil Digimon.
Yeah.
Because the data for an area makes Digimons now.
Well, it is all the evil data that was left over from the digital world, which they were for some reason not able to scan. And I'm pretty sure they were previously able to scan evil data.
Yeah, because they could. But what's very interesting about this is that implies that once they were to defeat this thing, there would be no more evil in the digital world. There's no data for it. It cannot exist.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there like, is this it? Is this when Vamdemon shows up?
Would you have like actually?
I would have marked
happy?
out. I would have marked out at this point. I would have been like, yeah, like it'd be the worst. Okay, I'm not. That would be the room of plot twists.
Yeah.
Like it would be the worst thing, but it would be so bad that I would have been really on board with it now. Like I'm still clutching at straws for try to end with it was Vamdemon all along.
I actually really do hope so. And originally, before we really started the podcast and we were just talking roughly, and Try just come out, I was like, I don't want Vamdemon to come back. Come on, he's been in every season. Like,
and now you're like, he's in every season.
Like in every adventure season, he's just like, oh, there's Vamdemon being the bad guy. But now I'm just kind of like, no, actually, I think that'd be a great throwback.
Look, if a Leomon didn't die, wouldn't that be really disappointing now?
Like, well, Leomon didn't die. It could be like a running gag, like, oh, it was Vamdemon the whole time. Like, he shows up and he's like, but this time, kids, I am ultra, mega, ultra cool, big, scary, blood-sucking Vamdemon.
This is another reason I would love to interview, like, a Digimon writer. I want to ask. I need to know, because I wouldn't put it past them for it to be an accident. Why do you always kill Leomon? Do we?
It's 100%.
And they go,
it's a thing.
Wait, is that... I'm like, this. Oh, so we do also all the Wizardmon. Oh, like, they just don't notice.
And also Angemon doesn't have a good time.
It's not the same.
It kind of is. It does not have a good time.
So it's this big stupid dragon that comes out with like a big space ball, and they don't say anything.
Like, oh, that's
they go,
thing.
Look at it, and there's no Digimon analyzer for it. I think we only find out next episode what it is.
Yeah, when Cherubimon says Lucimon Satan mode.
He doesn't even say that's Lucimon Satan mode. He's like, Lucimon Satan mode will do this.
Like this is a Digimon that we've seen before. Like, they didn't say that is a completely new Digimon. He knows his name. Like, thanks, Cherubimon. You could have said, oh, by the way, BT dubs, if Lucimon comes back, he might become something called Lucimon Satan mode.
But they don't even... No one even has a line like, oh, so that's what he's called. It's so ham-fisted, no one even addresses that they didn't know what it was called.
Like, Bokumon didn't even point it out like he did once in that episode, which was probably the best line in Frontier, when Bokumon says, oh, that's Beowulfmon. And then Naemon says, how do you know that's his name? And Bokumon just is silent in reply, and then says, go Beowulfmon!
The best joke.
It's the best joke.
Also, which one of them is Lucimon Satan mode?
Well, I think...
Is it the dragon?
It's the dragon. I think and I could be completely wrong here. I think the little thing inside is called Lucimon Larvae Mode or something.
Good thing the show tells you that.
Yeah, so actually I would have completely been fine with them not naming him because it makes no sense for them to name him.
It's weird because the dark area was not Lucimon. All of the evil of the digital world was not Lucimon.
No.
Lucimon was a corruption of all that was good in the digital world. Right?
Yep.
So when you hatch an egg of all the evil that exists, Lucimon shouldn't have come out. No, I know it says Satan mode. Just call it Satanmon. Whatever.
I think
Doesn't matter.
Satanmon might be pushing it a little bit.
I bet it exists.
It doesn't.
I bet it does. There's like 2,000 Digimon. You don't know that.
I'm pretty sure Satanmon doesn't.
There's like 2,000. I think it probably exists. Skull Satamon is Skull Satanmon. You know that, right?
But there's no just Satamon. There's Skull Satamon and there's Demon, but there's no Satamon.
Okay. There's Demon, which is a pun, even worse, and there's no Satanmon.
No, there's no Satamon.
Come on.
No, I'll look it up later, but there's no Satanmon.
Anyway, so it's this big lame dragon, and it. So,
Shut up, he's cool.
So it flies through space and there's a big explosion. That explosion is the animation of someone busting through a ceiling. Like it's dust and debris.
Yeah, which is weird because
from space.
I kind of thought that this area was a goo ball, basically. Like
they're not in the dark area anymore. They're in space.
I know, but when he burst through the space, not when he burst through the dark. Oh,
because the dark area is absorbed into the egg. He can't be in the dark area because the dark area is gone.
Yeah.
It's part of the black egg.
You're right.
So it becomes a dragon, and it busts through the ceiling of space.
By the way, he can't be a dragon because he's not called Lustramon.
It's a dragon, look at it. So he busts through the ceiling of space, weird enough, and then they never show you the digital world. Like, they don't cut to it, because I'm sure that the framing is, oh no, now that he's here, the digital world isn't good. It's actually fine. Like, we know it reformed.
Yeah.
He didn't take it anywhere.
Yeah, at this point, they're basically trying to protect the human world where Lucimon is going.
So, there's a really, really time-killing evolution sequence, which is 3 minutes, I counted.
Okay, so I think this is reasonable because this is the last time we'll ever see them evolve to their human spirits. So it's like a showcase. They're all evolving to the spirits that we saw at the start of the season, their first evolutions. And we're seeing it again, except for Koji and Takuya, who evolved with their fusion evolutions, the double spirits, that's what I meant.
Isn't it great there's the 12 legendary spirits?
Yep.
What happened to the other?
The whole time.
No, it's not 12, sorry. There's only 4 other kids. It's the 8 legendary spirits. Yep. 2 of which are 4 of which are in 2 bodies. I don't know. Yeah, they're beast spirits which are stronger, they leave behind. And if the human ones are for nostalgia, then, wouldn't Takuya and Koji not have double evolved?
Wait a minute. We've previously shown that Chuckmon and Blitzmon can't fly. I'm pretty sure they're flying in this part.
It's space.
I know,
everyone flies in space
and
jumping. Breathes.
I know, it is weird Digimon related physics in this episode.
And also, the things that make you fly on Earth are not the things that let you fly in space.
Okay.
Wings don't work in space because there's nothing to push.
But they look cool. Okay.
So Takuya, they all go through their favorite memories as they fly through the nothing zone.
Yeah. Highway to the nothing zone.
It's Rainbow Road, I guess.
I think it looks cool.
So they're all imagining the things that they're fighting for now. And I swear in English, it is shown that they're saying all this out loud. But I think in Japanese, they're just thinking it.
In Japanese, they are... Oh, in both versions, it's not really said whether or not they're thinking it or if they're saying it. At the end clip, which we'll get to later, is a different story.
No, straight up Junpei, you can see his mouth moving. I also learned to be more social and not an ass. You can see his mouth moving.
I'm not actually sure. So Takuya remembers his family, Koji remembers his real mum and the mother who raised him. In the dub, it's really, really annoying because they replay the clip that we've seen before when Koji is presenting somebody with flowers.
Yeah.
And they've used this clip before to say, when I go home to the real world, I'm going to give my stepmom the flowers, say I love her, and say that she's my mum.
Because these are memories. But that never happened.
So in the dub, he says, I promised Koichi I would give our mum flowers and tell her how important she is to both of us.
Oh, I didn't even notice this one.
This clip,
God.
It was used to say, I'm going to give this to my stepmother because she raised me. She is my mum, and I'm going to start calling her mum, and I'm going to stop being so horrible to her, and I'm going to give her these flowers. That's what he was doing.
You have to remember, Western fantasy tradition is that stepmothers are evil. All of them are evil.
Yeah, but
all of them are dicks.
I kind of like how it's like, well, guess what? This time the stepmother's not evil. She's
I know,
just
I
a
agree
lady.
with you. His dad's the evil one.
Yes, but they don't address that, which is annoying.
They never address it.
Like,
I really thought they would.
I wanted Koji and Koichi to both, like, punch him in the face. Or the mother punch him. Like, honestly, so to be fair, the mother didn't actually tell Koichi she had a son either.
I said that in the
I think you
first
said that,
episode.
but, like,
and you were like, no, it's fine. It's fine. I totally understand.
No, the dad is worse, though. The dad.
Oh, for sure.
Because he's like, oh, by the way, did you know that your mum is dead? Like, that's worse. So we have how Junpei saying how he wants to make real friends. In the dub, it's longer than this. Like, all the lines are spread out much longer in the dub.
So I just want to establish that Takuya's favorite memories, the thing that he's really nostalgia for the human world, is baseball, homework, and losing at video games.
Yeah, me too. Anyway, so what I was saying was JP says it's not about chocolate or magic tricks. Friendship is about caring.
No, it is actually about chocolate and magic tricks. You just also care.
Oh, my life is about chocolate. Like, I cherish times where I'm eating chocolate with my friends. Like, you can still like chocolate and have friends.
I would have laughed so hard if, like, part of this was a flash to him, like, opening his jumper and all the chocolate falling out.
That'd have been the best. Or and then he's skinny.
And then he's skinny the next one. And then it would be like, yes, it'd be the opposite of Zoe's one, where instead of her being like, no, I can be social and I've gotten over my thing, he's like, and then I was skinny and I was popular now.
I would not put it past the show.
Oh, the show sucks.
Then we have Izumi
the
saying
thing you
that
hate.
she wants to get along better with everyone now. In the dub, she says how she knows who she is now, and she's not lonely and she can open up to people.
Oh, I just realized.
What?
Everyone's having memories except for these two. These two are having imagination and not memories because they have nothing good to think back on.
Well,
Actually, she has one of, like, her in the forest.
Takuya's stuff was all stuff we haven't seen before either.
No, but they're all memories of things that he actually did. Hers is like, oh, wait, no, I'm thinking of the end.
Yeah, you think of the end.
I'm thinking of the end.
Yeah, you'll definitely think of the end.
I'm thinking of the pasta with no sauce.
Tomoki says he's not a weakling anymore, and that he says that he loves his brother.
That's why they show him choking his brother.
It's so cute. I got the impression that this was actually maybe a fantasy.
I'm sure that actually did happen.
Yeah, I know, but they seemed really close, and we never actually saw them be so close. So it just sort of struck me as something that may not have happened.
Well, I mean, if you see me and Melanie most of the time, then, like, we look awful, but I've hugged her at least once.
Yeah, when she said, I'm engaged, you were like, hug.
Yeah. She hugged me back.
Yeah.
Like, for the first time ever. Oh, it was great.
In the dub, he says that he wants to show his brother how he's grown, and he wants to go home now.
Well, you could have taken that opportunity earlier.
Yeah, when you had the choice to go home.
Also, I love how it's now. Not after we defeat this threat. I want to go home now.
Yeah. Well, he also wanted to go home in the first episode. Then there's something that I noticed, is that we have, like, a zoom out of all the kids, like, we see them flying because
And
they're in their
naked.
spirits, and they're naked.
And also battle damaged.
Yeah, but also, Junpei looks not fat, but buff. Like, it's this really weird thing, like, I don't think they actually know how to draw naked fat people.
It's because there's no chocolate.
Because Junpei's not fat. Like, in this bit, he looks like he's a very muscular man. He's got, like, they've drawn muscle definition on, like, his arms, so it just looks like he is an extremely muscular
This
man.
reminded me of the funniest, like, I think it was an Onion headline, but it's my favorite thing that killed me for like 10 minutes. It's beefy child misses fourth wave on boogie board. It's just got this little kid on a boogie board looking disappointed.
I think that has to be something that you have to have been there
Sorry,
for.
no, that's the whole thing. And it's just the term beefy child.
Lucimon has broken through to the train station in Shibuya, and an eerie sunset happens, and the screens in Shibuya all say, obey or die, it's your choice.
You know, this is a really ominous scene for everyone who sees the billboards, except who are they meant to obey?
You're just kind of like, well, that's out of
It
context.
what, the government?
Also, there's something that I feel like would have fitted in here that they did in Adventure a lot, and they should have said, oh, it's some publicity stunt, or some new TV show, and they were constantly doing that in Adventure, when Vamdemon was, having access to all these things, like, oh yeah, it's probably just some filming for a show, or, hey, there's monsters over there, oh, they're just doing a commercial.
If anywhere can manage that, it's Japan.
Like, if I saw that, if I was walking down to the city and I saw some billboards light up saying that, I'm like, oh, I wonder what show that's for.
Bet that's for an anime.
Yeah, like, I wonder if it's for the new series of Game of Thrones.
Hey, Persona 5's coming out and getting delayed for 12 years.
Yeah. Like, I would not be surprised if I saw that. I'm like, okay, that's an ad. all these people kind of just looking like, oh no. Well, it's a good thing it never happened.
No, and also, like, they all reacted like they knew what it meant.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, as I said, I would have thought, if you saw that, if you were in Melbourne and you looked up at a billboard and it said, obey or die, what would you think?
You'd be like, okay, and even if you took it seriously, who are you obeying, and what do they want you to do?
It's very vague. It's vague blogging. Look, maybe these were just all those, that place in Fed Square where you can text in messages.
You can just have them say obey or die.
I kind of just want to do that. I'm like, I want to go to Fed Square and I want to message them. I bet they curate
those. I assume they curate them.
No, I've seen some that are pretty automatic. Like, no, I'm pretty sure that when I went there with in high school, when we were going on one of those Yarra boat thingies to do some geography or something, I don't know, we were sitting there waiting for the other school people to show up, and some people were just SMSing random stuff to that board, and someone said, oh, so-and-so is a poopy head. But they didn't say poopy head. They said something that that's very Australian and I shouldn't say.
Oh, they actually swore. I thought it would filter out words.
No.
That's amazing.
They said something that isn't very nice, and I would have to bleep out if I said it, so I'm not even going to bother it.
You know how like they have oven mitts? They were a mitt head, but it rhymed with that instead.
Yeah. So in the dub, the sign says, "You must choose to follow me or be destroyed." Like, it's still not very obvious what it's talking about.
It's the same thing with different words.
I do kind of think it's a cool scene, though. The kids remember the underground at Shibuya Station, then the kids attack one after another, and it does no damage to Lucimon Satan mode.
So, I couldn't really tell what it was doing, because they would hit him, right? And nothing would change.
I thought he was growing, because I didn't notice.
They went, and it looked like he evolved, like kind of like Diaboromon or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they hit him again, and he switched back. And then hit him again, he switched back to the other thing. And I'm really thinking it's like he's evolving back and forth, two different modes. What's happening?
I thought it was growing too. It wasn't clear enough. But no, they're actually damaging him, but it's shrinking him slightly for some reason.
I think it was in the next episode. Because they don't say he's healing. Only in the next episode do they say he's healing. I think they hadn't decided what he was doing.
Oh, really?
Because they weren't damaging him, and he was changing form completely. There were new parts to him.
How much faith have you lost in Digimon because
all
of this?
It. And I really think next episode they were like, oh, he was healing so fast. What are we going to do?
What if they couldn't come up with a design for his next evolution? So they're kind of like, oh, he was healing.
No, I think they had a design and it was really bad. And they were like, why is he doing this? Why does he change it every time he's hit? Oh, right. We hadn't thought that through. Oh, he was just healing. The sequence of events doesn't make any sense because they would hit him and he would change and then he would change. He didn't heal, he changed. And then he hit that, and then he changed back. And then he changed back to the other. It made no sense. And also, their attacks weren't doing anything. They said they weren't doing anything. They didn't say, he's being damaged and he's healing. It's, we can't hurt him.
Yeah.
I think they changed their mind the next week.
Well, I guess
in the last episode.
That does go along with your theory of they don't know what's going on. Yeah. Like, that they are writing week to week. And I don't want that to be the thing. I want them to actually have thought. But if any season of Digimon was to be only done week by week, I would say it's Frontier. Because other seasons actually have foreshadowing and a coherent plot. This kind of seems like how I'm writing my fanfic is I'm writing it month to month. I don't have any plan. I'm just kind of like, what do I feel like writing? What do I think's good? But you know what? Like, that's not like what I've been trained to do, write stories. If I was a writer, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to write out an entire plan for how this fanfic's going to go. But for this fanfic, I'm like, well, it's a continuation of something I wrote when I was 12 that was really, really bad. First thing I'm going to do is...
Don't sell yourself short. It was better than Frontier.
Really? Wow. That is not a big compliment.
Hey, it was more... Yeah, damning faint praise. It was more entertaining, for sure.
Yeah, because it had the beginning.
And the furry.
And the furry. The big... I should just change it to be the furry.
No, it's the fury. Do it right. The funniest thing is when you mispronounce it when you're reading it.
I think it's because my brain just says, that is the furry. That is the thing you wrote when you were 12. The furry.
It's pretty amazing.
The big bad, the furries.
Is it just Furymon? Is that who it's going to end up being?
I don't remember what I knew. I don't remember what I wrote 12 years ago, Jay.
So, everyone in the real world starts getting zapped with Digi-Lightning out of all their machines, which let's pretend makes sense, because obviously it doesn't.
Well, just remember, this part isn't actually happening. The bit in the real world's not happening because everything's fine.
What?
They rewind time.
Oh my god, I forgot! I forgot! None of this happens!
Yeah, because we see the same people and they're just walking by, and we see the exact same news presenter, but he's saying, "Oh, there was a disturbance, but it just went away. It was just a power outage."
But there couldn't be a disturbance because they rewound time.
No, there was only disturbance. There was only electronic thing that happened, but the bits with obey to die never happened.
But the disturbance was after that.
No, the disturbance was before the obey or die. The first disturbance was when he just shown up at the station, like the underground station.
No, in my notes it's in a particular order. It's obey or die, then everyone gets zapped with lightning.
No, the slight disturbance of like there are some weird phone things, like people looking at their phones and they're getting all weird signals.
I guess. And then like when he bursts through and everyone sees him.
Yeah, that never
I thought
happened.
when they said disturbance, they said, "Oh, we saw a monster, but we don't know what it is. We're investigating."
Look, he would have killed people when he popped through the floor of a populated street. He pops through Shibuya Scramble Crossing. He would have killed at least 100 people, Jay. But it never happened. It's something you don't have to worry about because it never happened.
They never addressed this at all.
No, it just never happened. Like, oh, the best way to avoid collateral damage and how to clean it up is for it just not to happen ever. Just never happened.
Oh my God.
We then see a small larvae inside of Lucimon's Saturn mode, and it talks, and it attacks, and then Lucimon attacks the kids. And then on the screen we see obey or die, it's your choice, and the sound is all, they're just staticky, and besides some static, it's silent. And I'm like, this is very Serial Experiments Lane.
No, it would be better if it was obey or die. It's your only choice.
Yeah.
Like, this is a really annoyingly happy dude.
In the dub, the larvae reads it out, so it's not as scary. It's like, obey or die.
Oh, that's a funny voice, sorry. Can you do that one again?
Obey or die.
Oh my God.
But that's the voice. It's like, no, it's even more hyper.
No,
It's like,
I-
obey or die.
No. I know why I'm laughing. Because it reminds me of the weird weasel doctor from Conker's Bad Fur Day.
I never played it.
And he's more German. In fact, he's very German. He's like, all right, we have anti-gravity chocolate. I don't know why I even made this. It never worked. Okay, out the window with this. Just the really crappy, nasally voice on an evil guy.
Yeah.
Oh, it just kills me. Beefy Childs on Boogie Board misses 4th wave in a row.
Let's go on to episode 50, the last episode of Digimon Frontier, because this is the really Serial Experiments Lane-esque ending is, I liked it. So we move on to episode 50, and the kids have just been hit by Lucimon's attack.
And they fall back into... Oh, we didn't even mention how they go through the station.
That just happens, though.
Okay, so they remember, they went through the ceiling of space, and they ended up in the train station.
Yes.
So the trains came out of space.
Yes.
It's not actually in the digital world.
Jay, that's where all trains come from.
And
from
why
space.
did Lucimon make the bridge to the real world with the big light if he doesn't
just
use
crashed
that,
it, yeah.
but he crashes through space?
I think he wanted to walk elegantly down the catwalk of light that was the path to the real world.
But he
was
never had to.
Jay, it was just a stairway to heaven, but a stairway to the real world.
And also, if you go directly up from this train station, you hit Shibuya Station. But in between it is the weird purple zone. So is this in the digital world or not?
I always thought the underground part was kind of like in between because Digimon could go there without destroying the digital world.
And you'd have to break out of the digital world to go there.
Yeah, it's like this middle ground. It is between the digital world and the real world. It's just like this middle ground between the two. It's this weird area.
Isn't it weird they've rewound time in the real world like twice?
Yes. Well,
why does this show have so much time travel in it?
we're not sure if Flamon actually happened or if that was just a small hallucination, but except we saw Koichi, so maybe it was just a Doom Train hallucination.
But it was a hallucination that gave him information he couldn't have otherwise had.
Yes, so it was Doom Train gave it to him, I think.
And also information that was irrelevant and he didn't need.
Yeah, if you never knew Koichi, like he...
Because Koji worked it out on his own. Because he saw visions through Duskmon for no reason.
A Fanimon. That was a Fanimon.
Really? Is that a power a Fanimon has?
Yes, when she... Wait.
When she's captured.
No, you're right. No. Okay, no, I'm thinking of a Fanimon gives visions to Koichi.
Oh, I'm talking about you're currently fighting Duskmon and your brother's face, your own face, just pops out as a hologram. That is central to the plot of Frontier.
Yes. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah.
This is the worst show.
I'm sorry.
You always forget how... By you, I mean me. I always forget how bad the show is, because it keeps getting worse, but I can't... I shouldn't be forgiving it for all the other terrible stuff it's done. This show is garbage.
Garbo.
Garbo. So, also, even funnier is we know that Lucimon Satan mode is driving through the purple zone above them.
Yeah.
And then the elevator falls out of it.
Yep.
So the elevator shaft above the ceiling is just the purple zone through which the elevator just exists. Okay, fine.
Yeah, it is this weird realm. It is just there.
And like Koji's like, Takuya, we can't do it. Don't go fight him. He's invincible, so we shouldn't bother.
And in the original, he's just like, oh, okay, that would make sense. But in the dub, he says, yeah, how could I forget? And then we have a flashback. I'm just like, this is a weird addition that he says, yeah, how could I forget, instead of, oh, really? Like, in the original, he's like, oh, and he thinks about it, and that's why he's got the flashback. In the dub, it's just like, well, of course I knew that. I just wanted to evolve despite knowing this.
My favorite part of this entire finale is when Tolmon goes, just turn back into Susanomon.
Yeah.
Why don't you just be the good one again?
Yeah, it's like, it could only be better if Namon said, why did you evolve to human spirits? Why not just become Susanomon?
Yeah, the beast spirits were stronger. Try that one next.
Yeah, I would have really liked that.
But the response is, no, they can't do that because that requires a miracle. So step one, it didn't require a miracle last time.
It's not really like being shot in the heart by arrows.
And the other thing is they've turned into Susanomon twice. They were Susanomon, then they split, and then they chose to reform.
Yeah.
They had total control over it. Wasn't a miracle.
Yeah, it didn't look like something that you had to unlock and it was just a one-time thing. It was like...
Well,
and none of the other evolutions have been like, oh, we evolved, but we can't evolve back. It's always been like, let's evolve again.
Double Spirit Evolution was implied to be like that until we thought, oh, you'll need Patamon every time. It's like, no, he just does it now.
Yep.
Why don't they just do it?
So I'm not sure where Bokemon would get the impression that you can't always just become Susanomon now.
And also, if it was Garurumon and Greymon that beat the Royal Knights, wouldn't you be those two to fight Lucimon Satan mode? They never try it.
No, but because Susanomon is apparently stronger.
But it's a miracle. You don't get to use that one. So,
Yes.
Given that, put all the spirits together and use those. This is why being all human spirits is berserk. Why would you ever?
But I liked what actually happened better than that, because at least I felt like Junpei, Tomoki, and Azumi actually did something.
I understand that you like something, that it has an emotional
But
resonance with you.
it makes no sense
There it
why they
is.
didn't, yeah.
And at the end of the day, a narrative is a sequence of events that you have to follow and suspend your disbelief about. And if you don't like the characters, like me, all you have to hang on is things making sense, which this show abjectly refuses to do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, I'm not going to argue at this point. Like, it's shown that Frontier, while I still enjoy it, has a lot of problems and a lot of things don't make as much sense as they should.
Okay, so then Takuya gets all depressed and he starts
Yeah.
crying.
Yep.
Then a miracle happens.
Yeah.
Because he's cried so hard.
Agunimon shows up behind him and helps him push the lift over.
So he just has physical super strength
Yeah.
for whatever reason.
Also, I want to point out that during this scene, when Takuya is effectively like having a freak out and basically breaking down, Nemon looks terrified and concerned.
Yeah.
He's the only one who really looks that concerned. Everyone else is kind of just standing there. Nemon looks heartbroken.
Also, I don't think what Takuya is saying is in any way heroic. What he's saying is, I tried and I lost and that sucks and I'm mad about it. And it's like, okay.
He does kind of seem like a little bit of a baby.
And then he cries, and it was only because he cried good enough that they would win. Again, plot critical.
Yeah.
It was absolutely essential to this plot that this happened.
Yes.
And what happened was that he got depressed and cried, and, plot critical, his detector happened to be on the ground directly below his face.
And he cried on it, didn't he? I think
Yes,
he
he did. That was what activated it. If it had been 10 centimeters to the side, the world would have been destroyed.
Would you like to know the most powerful thing of all of Frontier?
Tears.
Yes, we saw Tomoki's tears going into Burning Greymon's eyeball to make him regain sanity. We have, I'm pretty sure it happened before, but the three main times I remember is that time, then right now, and then at the end of this episode where Koji, by some miracle, is allowed to be inside a hospital with 5 of his closest friends and cries on his brother, which he's never met before, like effectively.
And I'm not going to say that crying magic tears isn't a classic anime thing, because it is. However, either A, they're given reasons to be magic, B, they're not actually magic and they're just emotionally representative, or C, they're only used once. They're only used once.
Yeah, the magic crying tear is meant to happen once. It's not a thing that is meant to happen 3 times.
Twice in the same episode.
Yes.
In fact, I don't know if it's directly making fun of it, but it kind of feels like
It's
it is.
not. It is
no,
not.
No. Let me finish the sentence, because you haven't seen
sorry,
all of Steven Universe.
Oh no, I thought you were talking about Frontier making fun of it. Steven Universe is probably
Steven
making fun
Universe,
of it, yeah.
one character is said to once upon a time have had healing tears. And I'm like, that's a weird thing for a character to have. And then they go, oh no, you haven't inherited healing tears. You have healing saliva.
Yeah, no, I remember that.
So I think I never thought about it, but that might be a joke about this trope.
No, I think it actually is a joke. It must be.
So yeah, Frontier sucks, and here we are.
Yeah, so all the spirits are now there. They show up behind the other kids.
The best thing... Okay, no, you know what? The best thing happens again, which proves that Nemon is, in fact, the best character.
He gives himself...
He's self-gunpatches!
He's self-gunpatches, and it's the best.
He's like the pinch me, I'm sleeping. Like, oh, psh.
And he says, oh, it's real.
All the evil warriors are there to fill in the space in the circle.
Do they talk?
No, not at all.
See, that's sad. I wanted Ranamon to reference her feud with Fairymon.
Also, I want to note that Bokumon's like, oh my god, it's the legendary warriors. This is what gave me the impression. Then he goes, it's the legendary warriors. And he looks at the big circle of them. But it's not.
What should have happened, and what I would have really gone mental for, was the human spirits, show up, but then they grow and they become the ancient warriors.
You know what would have made more sense?
What?
Is if instead of Suzanomon being in the final fight, it was the 10 legendary warriors in their final form.
Well, actually, I want to tell you what I first saw is, but I guess we'll get to the point. So
It made so much sense.
Yeah, I know, but I'll tell you what I thought was going to happen when I was 14. And I just
Also,
when we get to it,
The 3 little spirits.
yeah. So 3 babies become the 3 angels.
Well, they don't become. They have the spirits behind them as well.
They have the spirits behind them.
But they don't have like detectors which have the spirits, right? That's just their evolved forms.
Yeah, it's their ghosts.
But it's their own ghosts. What mechanism is happening here? And then Churumon's like, oh yeah, Lucimon's Satan mode. You know how we all knew that? We all knew that, right?
Yeah.
No one had to tell you?
And he explains how this Digimon is just an evil mass with no conscience. And the dub, he says that his weakness is that he's an evil mass with no conscience.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's really weird how, Trubimon never really had a super evil voice in the original. In the dub, it's got that, I am Trubimon. And he keeps that evil, what is it? The Diaboromon voice.
Isn't this one the evil one, though?
No, he's the pink Trubimon now.
Then why does he have an evil voice?
He has the same voice. That's just his voice.
What?
He's just a big pink bunno with an evil voice.
Oh, yeah.
That's just his evil voice. Serafimon says that if they combine the powers of the 10 warriors into one, they will win. In the dub, he says they will need to use strength, bravery, and cunning to defeat him. Afanimon says to believe in all their powers. In the dub, she says, have faith and work together and you will be triumphant. And then she asks if they will fight or will they not fight. And this is the same thing that Afanimon said to Takura in episode 1. So it's kind of like, it's this really nice bookend of...
Oh, really nice.
It's a reference...
That's a bit generous.
In the original, it had references a few times that Afanimon would ask him, and Plotmon asked him, will you fight or will you not fight? And then the dub ruins this by having her say, again, the warriors hold our fate. So instead of Takuya saying, yes, I will fight, and he's remembering that, and he's answering her, he just says, yeah. And why would they remove this really nice reference to the start of the season, that this is something that Afanimon asks him?
Because wasn't the start of the season like, would you want to play?
Well, it's yes, do you want to play in a game? But it's also in that same sort of tone, will you fight or will you not fight? It's like Astra's question in Atmon. Yeah. Dig it? Can you dig it?
No, but it's less... Isn't the thing on the phone less interesting in English?
Yeah, I think in
if they repeated that, it'd be weird.
Yeah, it's like, well, do you want to play a game?
And they're like, now's not the time, man.
So, okay, now this is a moment where they all say execute and they all swipe the detectors, and I'm going to tell you... Swipe / what do they do?
They move their hands past it.
Yeah, in the Digivice it was called swiping your hand.
That's
okay,
stupid.
So when I was 14, I had previously, when I was 10, been playing with the detector toys, and I was frequenting a lot of Digimon websites, learning things about the detectors and what Digimon come out of it. So
I need to interrupt you because I'll forget. would you be honestly on board if there was like a 20th anniversary thing for Digimon, which was the Susanomon set of detectors that were both 3 feet tall?
I would get
Like
them.
cannon size, they're just both
3
massive.
feet tall, yeah. So anyway, so I knew of all the Ancient Spirit Digimon before I'd watched Frontier. So I wasn't sure if they showed up or not. So when I actually watched Frontier, they all said, Ancient Spirit Evolution! I legitimately thought they were going to evolve to their Ancient Spirits.
Oh, you would have done that thing you did at the beginning of Try Chapter 4 and like freaked out and died?
Yeah.
That would have been awesome. Except you didn't because it sucked.
Yeah, and this is what I thought was going to happen because I knew of Ancient Arismon. I basically had another fanfic that I wrote myself when I was probably 11, maybe younger, when I first found out about Frontier, where I had my own Digimon that was called Irismon, and it was basically a Palmon without the flower, and it evolved to Ancient Arismon.
Sure.
So I knew of all the Ancient Spirits, so I thought they were going to become the Ancient Spirits, and I was thoroughly disappointed, like, oh, it's just Susanomon again.
Well, Child You was a better writer than these guys.
Well, Child Me, well, that's not really much to say about Child
Because
Me.
think about it this way. What is the power difference between having Susanomon normally and having Susanomon with 3 more kids in it?
I don't think there's a difference. Well,
So-
it still sounds like Takuya. In the original,
Oh, it's weird,
in the
isn't
dub,
it?
at least it sounds like it's sort of like is a morph of their voice. In the original, it's just Takuya.
So weird. So, if Susanomon were to die, for example, wouldn't it just mean that more children die?
Yes.
And since we know that Susanomon can operate without the children, why are they even in there in the first place?
Well, I want to point something out. Okay, so Lucimon does his big attack, his fire attack, and devolves all the kids, and they're enough that their data comes out.
Uh-huh.
And then he flies off.
Yeah.
If he killed the kids, like, we have learnt these kids come back, and then they fight you, and then you die. So, Lucimon, being the all-powerful, all-knowing big bad that he is, that the big bads are meant to have this extra knowledge that makes them the big bad.
Well,
It doesn't...
not in Frontier, they don't.
Like, they have to not make the same mistake of, like, I'm just gonna not kill these kids.
Look, he has no conscience or intelligence.
The larvae does, though.
No, it doesn't have any intelligence either because it was directing it. Look, here's the thing, okay? Here's the thing about, like... I had a thing. It's gone. No, yeah. Isn't it weird to think Lucimon, after being trapped for however many years, probably they would say 1,000, but if you actually did the timeline, it was probably like 20.
Yeah.
He's only out of the planet between getting out and being defeated. He's out for like half a day.
Yes.
Super weird.
Yeah.
They fought the Royal Knights lasted weeks. Also, you ever think about it? If you stopped posing like elevated threats to the kids would never evolve and get way stronger.
Yes.
And if you had skipped the Royal Knight step and just gone, I mean, Lucimon was trapped. I get that, but say if you had skipped the Trubimon step and just sent the Royal Knights after them first, which we know they were evil. They must have been evil the whole time. If you just sent them first, the kids would have instantly died.
Yes.
There's no shonen excuse here. There's no like we couldn't have waited. The Royal Knights were always operating. They were
Yes.
never released by anything.
That is correct.
It's just a massive plot hole that just digs infinitely deep in this terrible show. Move along.
Lucimon bursts to the ground, but Susanomon pulls him down, so Lucimon attacks again.
But he was technically in the real world, so it's doomed.
Yep.
Oh, but his whole body wasn't in there,
Jay-
so I guess the prophecy doesn't go.
Jay, so was Flamon.
Yeah, but that was in a different timeline. Also, maybe a dream.
Yes, but I'm still saying that, I don't know. And also, if the underground station is the real world, the Trailmon are there, and they're Digimon.
I think it's clearly not, because
Yeah.
there's the purple stuff outside.
Then, when Lucimon attacks again, the kids think about what they heard yelling, and they punch the orb and see the larvae. Susanomon is hit and falls back again, and Bokumon, Neomon, and the babies are saved by a bubble that comes out of nowhere.
No one's projecting it. They're just like, oh, we're safe now.
Like, it's not an attack that the three angels do. Like, it's not their protection, like, field.
It looks totally different. They could have just done the field.
Yeah, because we know that happened. That's, like, we saw it happen. Like, why else would that happen if they weren't going to use it again? Why does Frontier keep on doing these things, especially in these last, like, chunk of
I
episodes?
forget to mention, this is right after the eye catcher. I would have laughed so hard if the Koichi's face on the eye catcher had a big red X on it.
Yeah, like
he's
in
dead.
in Danganronpa.
Oh,
like,
that'd be so funny.
yeah.
So the kids go inside Lucimon because they're like, we have to, and then they just do it. Because whatever, apparently that works. And we hear the weirdest thing that totally undermines a bad guy, right? You hear the bad guy's like anxious internal monologue. Like, oh no, the kids are here. I can't lose to stinky little humans. Why isn't my attack working? Oh no. Like, why are you showing us this?
No, it is quite a weird voice that he has.
So they are being shot by like digital machine gun or whatever.
Yeah.
And legitimately, the reason that they get through and they are able to defeat this like Lucimon larvae thing is because they were thinking about friendship really hard.
Yeah. And yeah, there's a bit of that.
Okay.
There's actually quite a bit of the power of friendship, and that's the problem.
Then they fully execute the Satan by cutting it in half laterally. It's really brutal.
But I just want to point out just a few more things that happened. So
Okay.
Lucimon's saying that how he will destroy the kids along with the digital world. And in the dub, he just says, "You cannot stand in the way of my utopia. Prepare for paradise." And that's fine. But I'm just mainly upset about the original part because immediately after that, Bokumon says, "Oh, but the digital world will be destroyed if he keeps that up." And I'm like, Bokumon, my sweet summer child, that is 100% legitimately his plan right now. Like, he literally just said, "I will destroy the kids and also the digital world." Ah!
But that'll destroy the digital world.
And Bokumon's like, but if he does that, the digital world will die though. And I'm like,
You can't shoot me. That's murder, and that's illegal.
if you shoot me and kill me, I'll be dead.
You can't do that. And also, assuming his motivation is as he has stated it to be,
Yeah.
it is not in his character to say things like, "I will destroy the digital world."
He already has. Like, he tried to,
No.
it didn't work.
His character is that he wants to do that to rebuild it in his image.
I have a question.
He would never say, "I will destroy the digital world." He would always...
No.
Like, this character would say, "I'm going to rebuild the digital world."
But no, I have a question
You
right
can't
now.
stop me, yeah?
I will let you... No, my question is that Lucimon
Yeah.
wanted to rule the digital world and he wanted to... Basically, he wanted to destroy it
Yeah.
so he could rebuild it
Yeah.
to be his own utopia.
Yeah. My utopia!
Why at any point did he have to go to the real world?
He also wanted to rule the real world.
Did he say that?
Yes.
Oh, man.
He says, "I'll rule both." It's the Vamdemon line.
Yeah, so like, oh, well, but I don't think he says it hard enough for me to believe it. Like, I thought the main thing was, I am...
When he makes the bridge, he goes, "Everyone will obey me, even the humans."
Yeah.
You just weren't paying attention.
No, I thought he just did that in the dub. I thought in the original he was just saying...
Oh, dude, it's in both.
Nah. I don't know, because the Royal Knights wanted to rule the real world. Like, that was always their thing.
Yeah, so?
Like,
he also wanted it.
Lucimon wasn't stated to want to control the real world after the Royal Knight, until after the Royal Knights were dead.
Let's draw logical conclusions.
He could have got their feelings when he absorbed them.
Even assuming that he never directly says it, if he wants to A, control the digital world, directly stated, and B, go to the real world, directly stated, what's he gonna do in the real world?
Okay, no, that's fair. I know. I just think it's strange. He didn't really push that as his initial election promise.
Also, I could be wrong, but I think, and this is admirable, do they ever actually call it the real world? I think they always call it the human world.
Or they call it the human world or home.
I don't know what the Digimon call it, but that is admirable if that's true.
They call it the human world, I'm pretty sure.
And they've always called it the real
Yeah.
world, and I think that's dumb, because what's real is what's real to
The
them.
main reason I call it the real world is because every other season has
Tradition.
said, this is the real world, so I will just... It's like when we first started the podcast, I would mainly use the English terminology, and people would be like, "Why did you use the English terminology?" I'm like, well, I mean, I know that the original version may or may not be better, and that's a whole nother can of worms, and it's a matter of opinion. But the point is, use the terms that you're used to using, and because...
Can of wormmon.
And if you notice, I often just jump around between using Fairymon and Kazemon, or Zephyrmon and Shootermon, because
Okay.
it's I just use what's there. Like, what comes first to my head?
Get it? I think we all
Yeah.
understand.
So it's kind of like I'm using the real
I
world
think we all get it
because
and
that's
understand.
that's just there. So the larvae attacks, and Takuya thinks about how they all have friends that they want to protect now. In the dub, he says, "Impossible, it's our specialty. You'll need more than that." And then Lucimon's going berserk because nothing's controlling him anymore. And it's really weird that Susanamon sounds like Takuya. And this is when I really realized it, when Susanamon was talking. And then it was straight after Takuya was talking and before Takuya was talking. But then I realized his voice has just been like Takuya the whole time in the original.
Of course it is, yeah. Because he's the main character.
And then he
No one else
uses
matters.
his big sword attack. And Lucimon's head is cut in two.
No, the whole body's cut in two.
Yeah, it starts from his head and it just slips and it's quite gory. And you don't see any blood, but the idea is quite gory. And in the dub, they have cut out things that are less than this. They kept this scene.
Well, I mean, look him up until the big bad guy.
Like, I'm legitimately surprised. They cut out Diaboromon being stabbed in the head with a sword that was like basically a pin in comparison to his body. Well, it was Armageddon. And that was not bloody at all. This is like you see his head falling apart. Like it's very gory. I don't know why they kept it.
I don't think if you were editing Frontier that you would have bothered at this point. You would just be out getting drunk and being like, yeah, I did it, don't worry about it.
I have 10 minutes left of editing this thing. I don't care.
So the larvae thing has snuck out behind them somehow. So Susanamon like ejects all the kids and turns out to be operating independently now.
Even though they killed the larvae, I'm pretty sure. Like, isn't that why...
No, but it escaped, bro. And now it's behind them. He goes, I'm going to kill you. And then he blocks it.
No. No, Jay, you're wrong there. What he says was, I'm going to kill you.
You're right. He does. That's more like it. And they do...
a dumb voice.
There must be a word for it. But they all 10 spirits, the main spirits, not like there's 20 spirits in Susanamon, whatever, do that anime samurai thing where they go past and they do one sword slash and do a pose. And then usually the thing falls down and goes, psh, and blood flows out. But there's all 10 of them. It goes, and it's probably the coolest thing that's ever happened in Frontier.
It's quite cool.
It's unique, and honestly, this scene deserves better than to be in Frontier. And then, the
10 spirits are talking to the kids now.
It just dies.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Fairymon speaks Italian now, and she says that she's happy in Italian.
I have a question.
Yep.
If Lucimon Satan mode was made... First of all, which one of them... Yeah, we established. If Lucimon Satan mode was made of all the evil data that exists...
Where's it go now?
And you kill it... Where does it go?
Goes to the real world. Oh. And that's how Donald Trump was born.
I was about to make the same joke. I'm like, do we get political on the show? Yes, we do.
It's Donald Trump. That's not even politics. He's just a thing.
I mean, it's politics now. I had to have a very long conversation with Matt. Like an embarrassingly long conversation.
You'll tell me later. So my main question is, I know you have your question about where the evil goes. Where did this bubble come from? The protected Pokemon, Nemon, and the babies. I really want to know.
It was the power of love, man. Come on.
But it wasn't. It just showed up.
I know, that's why it's the power of love.
I know. But it wasn't said. Oh, it's the power of love.
One of them cried. It's fine.
Patamon cried. Pokemon cried.
Yeah, I know. The tear hit some space, and then a miracle happened. Okay.
And then it went into their eyeball.
Just hand wave it. Yeah, the tear came out of their eye, went back into their eye, and then a miracle happened.
The digital world is returned, is what the character starts saying.
But it already returned.
Despite that happening literally last episode.
We saw it.
And it wasn't like when Lucimon came out, I don't think he started absorbing the digital world. He went straight to the human world.
I think they forgot.
Maybe. Or maybe they want to reassure the kids. Like, no. The digital world is safe now.
I got the impression as well that they seem to think the digital world's gone, even though A, it came back, and B, it never went away.
Yeah.
They begin acting as though it's always been gone.
Yes, it is strange. The spirits help the humans back to the portal because the portal's closing. And in the dub, Azumi asks if they'll see them again, and Agunimon says that it's not for him to say, but if they're fated to meet again, they will.
But also they won't.
But I feel like this is just the dub, like, potentially preparing for a season 2 of Frontier. Because
no one knew what was coming next. In fact, maybe the writers thought, there's 2 more episodes left. We always do 52, right? We're running week to week.
Or 54, maybe. Maybe Adventure had 54. I can't remember. I think a few of them has had 54. Maybe it was Adventure and maybe 02.
And the spirits are like, oh no, the portal's closing.
Yeah.
The wormhole that he ripped in the digital world is closing. Not as if there was always a way, a tunnel that was designed to get between the real world and the human world.
Yeah, the lift. But I think the lift broke, but shouldn't they be able to always fly up?
Time rewound.
Yeah, I know, but shouldn't they be able to fly up through the lift shaft?
Yeah, but also the hole that this guy ripped was closing, even though you can take a train there.
Yeah, it didn't know where it was going.
It's because they need because Digimon always ends this way. There's a timed reason you have to leave us and we can't see you again.
Yeah.
So they throw them through the hole. And then Beakmon's like, I want to go too.
And in the dub, there's an added bit of dialogue, which is Namon saying, "But you can't leave me," about Bokumon leaving.
Aww,
And it's so
I
cute.
missed that.
And Bokumon says that he doesn't care. But this is because in the original, Namon isn't saying, "You can't leave me." In the original, Namon's saying, "But if you go the real world, everything will be destroyed."
And he goes, I don't care.
Yeah, so his reaction in both is, "I don't care." But one is saying, "I don't care about you, Namon." The other one's like, "I don't care if I kill the kids."
It's, I don't care if I kill everyone. I just want to hang out with my friends. Because he's not thinking. It's adorable.
Yeah, it is.
And he's trying to swim in space.
This is really cute. And Namon says that if he doesn't listen, he'll give him a stomach band slap.
And he does.
And in the dub, Namon says, "If you leave, who will snap my waistband?"
That's kind of cute.
But it's not as cute
It's
as
much funnier as the irony of
as
like
the reversal.
the massive stomach band snap.
Yeah.
This is the best thing that they've ever done.
Yeah, no, I like the scene because guess what? I like Bokumon and Namon. And if you asked me this when we first started doing Frontier like 6 months ago or what have you, 7 months ago at this point, I would have said, "Man, I hate Bokumon and Namon." Both Jay and I will hate Bokumon and Namon. They will be the worst part of the show.
That's like the only good part of the show.
Yeah, that and Bergamon and the movie.
Mostly it's these two. Like the other two are like tiers below. And
Yeah.
then Pokemon does the thing I said that he would do. He goes, I'll write a book. I'll write the new legend and make sure everyone knows what you did.
Yeah.
But it'll be like, there was some spirits and they beat LostinTranslationmon, and that's the whole book.
Yeah, and then there'll be prophecy of these kids, I guess. More prophecy. Yay. While they're in the portal, the kids are talking in the dub, and in the original they're just sort of going back and saying home, home in the dub, but it's quiet in the original. Koji gets a message from Loamon who says Koichi's still alive. And in the dub, again, there's more added dialogue of the kids talking about how, "Oh, that's great. That's so great." And it just sounds so like almost patronizing and sarcastic. Like, "Oh, that's so great for you."
I can't figure out how much time has been rewound.
Because they say it's when they left, but then when you go to the floor, like where they see where Koichi landed, he's not there. He was taken very quickly to the hospital.
Because they left, and then the clock begins ticking when they leave. We know that the moment they get through that door to the train is when Koichi to the elevator. Koichi goes, "Okay, I'm taking the stairs," runs down and falls. Like immediately. So it's the moment they step in the elevator. And then they come back and come out of a train. They don't come out of the elevator. Weird, right?
I think it might be a few hours past because in this episode they say it's 6:10. But I'm pretty sure it was...
There are clocks in them, we can check.
No, but in the first one, I'm pretty sure it was like 4:45. I know quarter to sounds familiar.
Maybe.
So at the very minimum, it is half an hour. That is, like, the police officer's still there doing investigations and asking people. It could have been half an hour.
They had to get an ambulance to him. Then they had to get him in the ambulance. They had to drive him away to the hospital. Then he had to go into surgery, which is where he was.
Yes, so they can do that in half an hour, but we also get the extra time of the kids showing up at the hospital. We don't know how they got to the hospital. Did they run? Was it like an hour run away? It could have been half an hour on the train. The point is, if we say a minimum of half an hour has passed since they left the real world, then we have like maybe an hour of transport. An hour and a half is, if they're very efficient and very fast and they want to save someone's life, they could get him to hospital.
Did you notice that they misspelled Shibuya in English?
Look, this actually makes sense because in the hiragana chart, she is actually in the place of all the words that have the E sound, like ki and mi.
Okay.
And it's also in the same way that chi is not actually ti, but it's in the place where T would be, as in TI.
So wouldn't they always put the H in?
No. It's basically just... It is a mistake, but it is a reasonable mistake. It's
not a reasonable mistake on a product you are putting out and put money into.
Also, I can't remember if... And this is actually the station where they have Romaji. That Romaji might actually be there. Because it would make sense. Like, that's where it is in the hiragana. It's in this place where C would be, SI.
So, okay. Now, I want to tell a bit of a story.
Yeah?
Because this whole ending sequence is awful. We're going to talk about it. But I want to mention, there was a scene... there's a camera angle specifically. In fact, I think it's my screenshot of the week. I think I sent it to you.
Yeah.
It is Koichi lying in the hospital bed with the oxygen mask on. And his eyes are all glazed over. His eyes are closed or something.
No, his eyes are open. They're just dead.
Okay, yeah. Glazed over. So, once upon a time, we hadn't started the show yet. Mm-hmm. And I think this image was on the screen. I've seen this before. I've seen this image before.
How?
I know I have. Because you say, You know, the best season of Digimon is Tamers, season 3. All this really adult stuff happens in it, and it's really good. That's all I remember.
Yeah.
And I was convinced that at some stage, someone would fall down the stairs and get put into the hospital in a coma. Because you told me that happens. But I was convinced it happened in Tamers. And also, now that I'm thinking about it, I also was convinced at some point during 02 it would happen to Ken. Because this guy looks like Ken.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
So, I know I had seen this before. You had told me someone falls down the stairs and ends up in a coma, and I didn't realize it was on Frontier. And this is the worst way it could have gone.
Well, I think also, like, the falling down the stairs is actually kind of like a bit of a joke in the Digimon fandom, which is sad. It shouldn't be. Like, the kid
Warned
dies.
you about the stairs, bro.
Yeah. And I think I mentioned it before that probably a few podcasts ago, because I remember putting it in the show notes, that there is an album where it's all the second in commands. So Koji and Koichi are there, but Koichi's like just walking down some stairs, and it's the most awkward picture.
Oh, God.
He's about like, oh, God.
Oh, you've told me about that, yeah.
Koichi, please be safe. Yeah, so I'm not going to bother putting the show notes this time, because I feel like that was like 2 episodes ago.
Okay, so they make it to the hospital.
Yeah.
A lot of unsupervised children run into surgery.
Like, you'd understand Koji being able to, because he says, I'm his brother.
No, you wouldn't.
No, because he says, I'm his twin brother. Look at him.
It's a surgery room. They're sterile. You have to keep them clean.
Yeah, running in.
You can't let randoms run
Yeah.
in.
I also have a
There's
question.
security in those buildings.
I have a question while I'm just thinking about it.
Yeah?
Does Koichi remember Koji? Like, any of the battles that they've had?
It is implied that they do.
But time around, it never happened.
No, it is implied that his spirit remembers it all because they remember it all. Because it was all stored on their Digivices, which they still had.
That just became phones just then.
Because this would have been okay if this was the only time they did the magic tier, because it's implied that all of the last magic they had in the Digivices, it brings them back to life. Now, I'm not saying them bringing him back to life is any good. It's not. Because he died. Like, he full died. If they just said, he didn't actually die, whatever, then fine. No, he died and they brought him back to life.
With the power of love, yeah.
Okay. Also, this implies that, once again, we have a character who was in a coma and whose spirit went to the digital world. And this one doesn't even have the excuse of having been connected to machines when it happened, like an EEG, or having done it intentionally. He was on the floor of a train station and his spirit went to the digital world for no reason, and it's never, ever, ever explained.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Because as far as we're aware, you have to physically go there. In fact, it's a 2-stage process where you have to get to the in-between zone through the elevator, and then you have to go. Physically.
Yep.
This is the worst show. Also, all of his data got absorbed by Lucimon, and then all of that data got scanned and put back into the digital world.
Where does his Digivice come from? Because he didn't have a phone when he fell down the stairs. Like, he could have taken his phone to the digital
Wouldn't he
world.
have had a phone?
He wouldn't have taken it to his digital world if the spirit was there.
No, but his real world one could have turned into a Digivice, and then it's just a spirit version of it that he's holding. It makes
no sense. If
Frontier's bad, and again, it's another challenge. It's not as much of a challenge because it's not like a weird plot convenient thing. It's literally hand waving magic. But how did Coma Boy get into the digital world? And also, his body was here and his spirit was in the digital world for months.
Yes.
He has separate experiences, body and mind.
Yeah, that's why I'm not sure if Koichi would actually remember.
But we know
Koji.
he does.
I know, but I feel like he shouldn't.
Yeah.
But
he's not going to wake up and go, who are you?
Imagine if he did. I mean, he did see Koji when he was running after him.
Like, isn't it weird that one of the weirdest things that happens in this episode is that there isn't a scene where the kids are being told by security, hey, no, the doctor will see you after surgery. He's busy.
Yeah, well, the fact they're running through and there's no security guards. No one's chasing after them. Like, it's not like they weren't like police officers chasing after them. Hey, you can't go in there.
Have you ever been to a hospital? Like, there are security doors that you have to, like, either have authorization
or have a pass,
or someone let you through. You can't just walk in anywhere you want in a hospital, especially not into surgery.
Maybe it was different in 2003 in Japan. Maybe you could just, if you wanted to, today I'm going to walk into this hospital and I'm just going to chill out with some surgeons.
Also, it's not like Koji walked in by himself and calmly said, hi, I'm here to see my brother. It was 5 children running through by themselves being like, we don't have time to explain.
Okay, this could have been a scene that was skipped because they didn't have enough time, but there could have been a bit where Koji says, look, this is my brother, my twin brother. Please let me in. And they would, I guess, maybe they would like scrub him up and put him in like a mask and stuff so he's sterile.
Or a normal person would have said, he's in surgery, you have to wait.
Or like it doesn't make sense why the kids came with, because it's okay because he's brother and you're allowed to have, you know, relatives and they're
Not in the room.
You can in TV shows.
No, you can't. They always they're watching from like a window.
Yeah, they could have brought him to the window and he could have cried in the window.
Yeah, but it wouldn't have touched his forehead, and so the magic tear wouldn't have worked.
No, you just had to. If you believe in it, it happens, Jay. You have to believe. Why would you believe?
Okay, so if the tear goes into the sink that the doctors wash their hands in, and then it ricochets around and it comes up through the tap inside the...
Better thing, he spits. He spits through the door, like the door is opened and he's being pulled away.
Oh, that's a Steven Universe right there.
He gets pulled away by police officers and security guards.
That would
that
would be really funny.
And then all the kids spit. I'm like, come on, spit with me, children.
Oh, spit with the power of friendship. Go.
And then the doctor's just saying, they're like, well, that's not clean at all.
And so all the kids just go, yay, we did it. He's alive now. Then they cut to, well, you know, and I learned my lesson about adventure, and I love my brother, and I miss my family, and I met my mother.
I actually want to go through with this.
Oh, whatever you do.
In the dub, instead of just silence of them running in crying with their stupid faces, Junpei is terrifying. Koji says that everything will be okay now, and Takuya says that, are you kidding? Everything won't just be okay. It'll be super awesomely great. And then we have some flashbacks, and it almost seems that they're saying the things that they're saying along with the flashbacks right this moment. Yeah. Instead of these sort of things are happening like maybe a couple of weeks after and they're narrating them. Like it's almost like they're saying, well, this is what's going to happen now and these are all our fantasies, except for this is actually an epilogue.
I won't be alone and angry anymore is the funniest line.
Yeah.
Because why would he say that?
Takuya is at his brother's birthday party and he explains how he now knows about everyone's courage and kindness and how he knows the warmth of his family.
You know what that means?
What?
It means he didn't learn anything.
No.
Because everyone else had, you could argue, came out of the world differently.
Yeah.
He didn't learn a single thing.
I guess he sort of, learnt about friendship kind of in the way that you don't run away from your friends.
Presumably he already had friends.
Or you listen to them. Yeah, no, he was an okay child.
He was probably a popular kid who was doing fine.
Yeah, he seemed like a pretty normal, 12-year-old.
Takuya had no notable problems. And so...
they invented problems for that character arc.
Tai had no notable problems.
Oh, no, he did. He had that big problem, he wanted to be the hero. He wanted to be the one to score the goal. He was like, oh, there is none in team.
Oh, I guess you could say that.
And we had that because we had that flashback in the Skull Greymon episode where Sora is remembering him playing football and he's sort of pretending that he meant to not shoot a goal when really he was being selfish.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot.
And because you're seeing it through Sora's eyes, it's like, oh yeah, he's such a nice guy. But then you actually think it, you actually are watching it and there's there are two ways we can take this. The way Sora's taken this, or we actually see that Tai was actually meant to take that shot. He was trying to take that shot himself.
Yeah.
So that was a problem. Takuya never really had that many problems.
He had the problem that people didn't like how he was too energetic and stupid, and that was for 2 episodes, and then they forgot about it.
Yeah.
And he makes no reference to it because he doesn't think he had any problems.
At least with Ties, you can arguably say that it only came up in the Skull Greymon episode. But then for the rest of the series, he was always thinking about how we about that sort of thing. Well, I'm the leader now, and everyone says I'm the leader. Izzy, you solve it, then that's you do it.
What I was trying to get at was that Tai, even if he didn't have any problems at the start, was just a popular kid, whatever, you could tell he was a different person at the end. You could see a difference in character. So even if you went from one person with no problems to another one, whether or not that's the case, you could see it. This character learned nothing. This character had a grand old adventure in which nothing happened and he learned nothing and then time reversed and it's all a dream.
Yep. Then we have, so in the dub, he says he can't wait to see his family, even his brother. And then there's some audio in the screen cap, which makes his mum, she's talking to his brother and he's saying, oh, don't spit, blow, how he's blowing out the candles.
Gross.
Then we see that Izumi is making pasta for the girls in class, and she says how she used to hate socializing, but now she can't help but love being with everyone. And it's just this is a terrible lesson. There was, in the first character episode that we got about Izumi, which was the kindergarten episode, where we learned that she didn't really want to hang out with people. She didn't want to go to them with the bathroom. She didn't think it was necessary. She wasn't clingy. That never struck me as a bad thing.
See, the thing here is that her character trait is likes to be alone. And what we both read out of that is that her problem was that she was insecure about the way people took that.
Yeah.
But if she learned to be herself, then she would be okay with it. What the show meant was, oh man, she's awful. She needs to learn to get some friends. That's what the show means. And so her redemption is stopping being the way she used to be. In making herself better for other people, not making herself comfortable with herself. Which is what Junpei's arc is. Junpei's arc is making himself comfortable with himself. Except he says like, oh, I'm going to be good now. I'm going to socialize and everyone's going to be cool. Except that like he didn't learn anything. He learned to not give certain things. He learned to stop being all about magic tricks and chocolate.
Yeah, he stopped trying to bribe people to like him.
But that doesn't mean he learned how to make people like him. He just learned certain ways not to do it. So he also didn't really get anywhere. Because guess what? At the end of the day, he was still just as annoying as he was at the start.
Yep.
Zoe didn't start liking him. He didn't start... I would say maybe with Tommy he was all right, but if he was always so good at reading the situation, that was his whole thing. Also, he was using magic tricks then.
Yeah, so I feel like there's not a problem with chocolate or with magic tricks. It's the fact that he uses
bribing people.
Yeah, he was using them as bribes, but you can still use magic tricks. You can still be the guy who does magic tricks. You can just have social skills. Like, it wasn't about him learning social skills. It's just like, well, I'm not going to do magic or give chocolate to people anymore.
Get wrecked, everyone who wanted those things.
Yeah, like, I would like magics and chocolate. Chocolate, not as a like, I'm not going to accept a bribe, but if a friend says, hey, want to see some magic? I'm like, yeah, I want to see some magic. Oh, do you want some chocolate? I'm like, oh my god, that's all I've wanted in my entire life is some chocolate.
Me too.
In the dub, Zoe says that now she knows what real friends look like, and now she's going to have lots of them. And I don't know why, like, she doesn't strike me as someone who wants to have lots of friends.
There's nothing about this adventure that would have made her say, now I want to have more friends. Maybe she'd say, I'd like to have a couple. Maybe that's something that would be valuable in my life. It's not, now I'm going to be the social queen. Like, that's nothing in the story says that what would occur.
And also, each of her, like, character episodes kind of was a little bit different from each other. Like, she went from, like, to being, having friends, and then saying, no, I don't really want to do much. So they didn't understand her, but she had friends. Then in the next flashback episode where we got bits about her character, she had no friends.
And it was like,
which one's the truth?
And it was about people like betraying her.
Yeah.
Like she wanted to be alone. And then she wants people that... Oh, this show's so bad.
Yeah, and her episodes like weirdly contradict each other. And I don't know, I feel like they should have spent a little bit more time with her character. Because I feel bad, like, I should like the only girl on the cast. Like,
why?
Because, she's the girl. And she's the token girl, yes. But you can still be the token girl and have a character.
Okay, you should like everyone in the cast. But the question is, what you should like them based solely on the fact that they're the only girl present? So
in Savers...
Yeah.
And this is just from my memory. There is... Out of the main cast, there is one girl.
Okay.
But there are also only two other boys.
Okay.
So there are 3 characters, 1 is a girl.
So it's Dogimon.
What do you mean?
Dogmon has 2 boys and a girl.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's the same that. And also, I guess Iori, Daisuke, and Yoli, that's the same.
No, they have 2 more though.
Yeah. But, we're not counting Hikari in Takaru. So, in Savers...
02 is named after the number of girls.
I believe that Yoshino actually has a character, and it's actually relevant to her character, and she's not just like, she is the token girl that's meant to make the females who are watching say, oh, she's sort of like me, I can project myself on this character.
Okay, well, is it tokenism if it's a third of the group? Like, I feel like tokenism is like 1 in 5, 1 in 8, but 1 in 3 can't be tokenism because what's the alternative? 2 girls and a boy. Well, that's a token boy now?
Yeah, no, okay, I see what you mean, but I'm just saying that she's the only girl in the main cast, and yet she has more character. Like, she actually has a character.
And also, tokenism is based on stereotypes and representation in name only. Whereas if she has a character, that's more than that. Zoe is a token girl for sure.
Oh yeah, no, she is because to some extent Zoe is just she's the girl.
That's what defines her.
And
because
Tomoki's the kid, like he's the little kid.
That's why her character keeps changing because they have to justify her A being a loner and B sometimes being like, I'll go on a date with you if you do this.
And see, in Adventure we had 3 girls, but each of them was a different type of girl. We had the tomboy girl, we had the girly girl, who, I guess that's a stereotypical girl, but she actually, like, she had character. Like, Mimi had character.
She did.
She's probably my favourite girl Digimon character in all of Digimon, but we also have seen her in 3 different things, and she's grown so much in all of them.
Also, she steals from her dad.
Yeah, in the first episode, yeah.
Okay, so...
And then we obviously had Hikari, which she's the little sister type.
I mean, but she also has...
She's also Jesus.
Her character is also that she's Jesus, yeah.
So then after Izumi, we have Junpei, and we see a nice little clip where he's given an umbrella by a friend in the rain, and he says how he understands how others feel now because he's one of them now. Like, he's one of the group. He is part of a group, and now he understands things. In the dub, JP says, "Hey Zoe, well, you're copying me," because they have the exact same character development.
Yeah, they do.
Of, I don't have friends, now I know how to make friends.
It's just... That's just where they live.
Yeah. So JP says that he's going to have friends now because this experience has taught him the importance of caring for people. Then Koji says that he's called his stepmother Mum. He gave her the flowers and he called her Mum. And then he meets his birth mother.
In the English, I think this is that they add dialogue to the scene where he's meeting the birth mother.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have the flashback. It's, oh, it's nice to finally meet you. I've always wanted to meet you. And blah, blah, blah. Like, they don't... They directly acknowledge it because stepmothers are evil. And
in the dub, there's still a scene of him giving the flowers to his stepmom, but he doesn't actually say, "Oh, I finally called my mum Mum."
You see the dad, and I just need him to... Why does he be like, "Dad, why didn't you tell me my birth mum was alive?"
"Dad, I never want to see you again. You said my mum was dead. You didn't tell me I had a brother. You're terrible."
He never thinks about it. He never thinks about it once.
Like, arguably, you can say the birth mother was obviously depressed, and maybe she didn't tell her son because she didn't want to burden him, or because it hurt her too much to think about it. Because we saw her, and she was like, Koichi would be talking to her, and she'd just be like washing her hands or washing the dishes.
Yeah, she was in a bad state, and you could see it. The dad was happy. Yeah, he was fine.
The dad has no reason to, like, he actively said, "Yo, your mum is dead."
Yeah, but the thing is, Koji knew who his mom was.
Yeah.
Like, Koichi didn't know he had a brother at all, and neither did... Why would Koji know who his mom was, but also not know he had a brother at all?
Yeah, he had pictures of the mother, but not of his brother. I guess because maybe he asked for a photo of his mother, and his dad said, "Fine, I'm not a terrible person, despite being one."
Do you know what the answer is? He came up with the brother angle after that scene with the picture of the mom. They didn't have it yet.
Okay.
That has to be it.
Yeah.
I need to know how this story was developed, because it seems like they developed it just drinking along the way and week by week. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Like, they sat down after a week of doing no planning and said...
Remember that mystery we said that Koji had about him? What are we going to do?
Yeah, I'm like, we kind of wanted to, because that's a good angle. It's an interesting angle.
Brother. Yeah, Secret twin brother.
Because that just seems like they pulled ideas out of the hat. Like, they went around and said, "Okay, what's it going to be?"
Which K-drama have you been watching lately? Oh, Secret twin brother? All right, you got it.
We then see Tomoki, who is playing with the people who basically assaulted him. Only one of these bullies apologized, by the way. Yeah. The one who actively tried to strangle him, like, maybe a couple of weeks ago, was there playing football with him, and
what time did they get back?
Probably 5 minutes before, I'd say. Because that wasn't that long ago. In the story, that wasn't that long ago.
So if they've been there for 6 months, and that comprised the space of an hour and a half in the real world.
Yeah.
And these guys left less than a month ago. Then they would be gone within the last 10 minutes.
They probably showed up at the station around the same time.
In fact, half an hour ago, a big flood of children came out of this elevator.
Yeah, good point, because they all came back. They would have had to all go back upstairs. Like, must be a school trip.
This is dumb.
It's not amazing.
You know what is amazing? Just not in a good way.
Then in the dub, Tommy says that he won't cry anymore, and then he says, "Well, I guess I will cry if I stub my toe."
Good on you, Tommy.
And then there's a nice scene where we see all the kids, like, celebrating. It's like the final scene. And in the dub, they say, "Well, now we'll be best friends forever." And it's just like, okay, I guess they added that.
Is that why in the the cuts to each of their things, they never hang out once?
Yeah, I was just about to say that they seem to have other friends, and they never actually seem to be shown, except for Koji and Koichi when he's meeting his birth mother. We don't see any of the other kids hanging out.
Did you notice that this is the only season of Digimon ever that has ended in such a manner that's it? No, it's not only is it over, but there's no more digital world for them. Like, there's no mention of it at all.
Yeah.
And there's no mention of, like, a possibility of them going back. And arguably, as a result of that, if they'd never gone to the digital world, it would have been fine. Their personal stories could have proceeded in the real world just fine.
Yeah.
All of these things could have been accomplished
Because
otherwise.
Koichi was looking for Koji anyway. That had no relevance to the digital world.
But that's the most significant thing, and then Junpei could have just learned social skills on his own.
Yeah, because you do learn. Like, I was very socially inept when I was 12. It's just something you tend to pick up.
I was socially inept until I was like 17.
Yeah, it
Then
just
I
happens.
Then I had a bunch of friends.
Yeah, like Izumi.
That's just
and
what it is.
then you cooked them pasta
With
without
no sauce.
See, it does sort of look like udon,
But she's Italian.
but yeah, it's meant to be Italian food. But the thing is, there's no pasta. I'm like, well, if you're going to show them Italian, I'd show them carbonara because that is the best.
Fair enough. Okay, so that's Frontier. It sucks.
So what did you think of these episodes as someone who's new to Digimon?
They sucked, man. Like, it's all bad.
Really? No other thoughts?
I don't know what you want me to say. I've said everything there is to say about like Frontier generally, and it's just all really indicative in this ending part. In that, like, if you really think about it, and you should always think about piece of media watching, even to a small extent. There's so many problems with it. And we shouldn't be asking questions like, how do the basic mechanisms of the world work in the finale?
And weekly, we shouldn't be able to come up with many reasons of how they could have improved the writing. Like, every episode, we've been basically saying how they could have rewritten Frontier and made it better.
It's especially obvious in that really unbelievable and small scene where they don't see the evil egg. I told you how they could have done that exact scene in no time at all, and they just see the egg like normal people.
Yeah.
And they just refused.
Yeah. No, it made no sense. They just overlooked it. And that's why I said, like, make the evil egg inside the good egg, and when the good egg has vanished to revive the digital world, have the evil egg show up or something. I don't know, make it make sense. How would you rate these episodes?
I rate the first one as bad and the second one as 1. And that 1 is only for the Pokemon scene.
Wow. So bad is that like a 0?
Yeah, rate the first one as a 0.
See, I gave, like, I really liked the first one and I like the second one. I think like a 7 for both.
You liked the big nothing fight of nothing?
Look, I thought it was dramatic. I thought the whole attack, the samurai sword single slice attack was really cool.
That was in the last episode, yeah.
Yeah, I know. And I remember there was something I liked in episode 49, but I actually actively can't remember.
Okay, maybe.
There was
Maybe I'll
something
be
cool
generous with this episode 50 and give it a 2.
Ooh.
I'll double my score.
Whoa, that's a good increase. That's a 50% increase.
No, it's actually 100% increase.
You're right, it is a 100% increase. A 50% increase would be 1.5.
Yeah, it'd be
You're
50% decrease from here.
Yes. Yeah, it is you're right. It is increased, yeah. How did this episode compare to your predictions in Obnoxious Synopsis?
So I only got I got the order wrong in what happens in episode 49. I said that the kids would be just about... Actually, no, I was wrong. Because I said they'd just be just about to beat him and then he'd power up. No, I didn't guess that they would straight up beat him. Then he'd fully power up anyway.
Yeah.
For no reason.
Well, to be fair, that happened to Vamdemon. That they beat Vamdemon, and then he restored himself as Belial Vamdemon. No, not Belial. Nest Belial. Yes. No. Venom Vamdemon. There we are.
Yeah, but wasn't that like part of the prophecy that would happen?
Yes.
So like, at least they did kind of foreshadow it. And that was bad, and it was not good, and it was not filler. And then the second episode, I said the kids would beat Lucimon, and there'd be a big repeat of the Legend of Prophecy bit, and then they'd go home like nothing ever happened. And they did. I am legitimately kind of shocked that, like, Koichi is there.
Yeah.
I thought that he'd be dead so that they wouldn't... I thought... If you'd asked, I would have legitimately been like, they go back to the real world and they never mention him again.
Wow.
And to be fair, he doesn't have his own character ending.
No, he does. He does speak.
No, he's there.
His character ending is introducing Koji to his birth mother.
No, but he's there, but he didn't learn anything.
No.
He didn't get... If he wasn't there...
Oh, no, in the original, he says, but now I have Koji.
Yeah, but if he had died... That's it. Like in this ending, I have Koji now. Like, whatever.
Well, to be fair, yeah, you're right. If he had died, Koji would still go out to see his mother.
The exact same frame would have happened, just Koichi would not have been standing there.
Yeah, he would still have tried to find his mother.
Absolutely.
And, of course, he would obviously still tell his stepmother that he loved her, because he can still, like, say, look, you are the mother who birthed me, but you are the mother who basically help me grow up.
Hey, question.
Yeah?
Loemon. I know it's a W and everything, but is it pronounced in a way that's just Leomon but backwards? Well, the E and the O are reversed.
Leomon is, like, Loe is German for Leo.
Okay. I thought okay, well, fair enough.
Yeah.
God, this show is bad.
What was the major difference that you noticed between the Japanese and the English version of these episodes?
I'm
Because I have a few. So
sure I have some.
you can think while I say mine. So I have Koji keeps not mentioning his stepmother in the dub.
Oh, God, I think that might be it.
And he just he says, I'm going to give my real mother these flowers. Replays clip from the episode where he said he'll give his stepmother flowers and call her mum. And then my next one is about how the dubs keeps on also removing a Fanimon or Plotmon referencing the starting lines that she said to Takuya.
For me, it's in the English in 49 when they say early, he keeps healing himself. Because they didn't say it in Japanese.
Oh, yeah, no, that's fair.
They had to bring that one forward in an episode because you couldn't figure out what was happening. And in the episode 50, I'm going to be totally honest with you, I barely paid attention. I was so happy for Frontier to be over that it was hard to focus. And I couldn't really pick differences for you.
You were just excited to watch X Evolution?
No, I was excited for Frontier to be over. There's a distinction.
Yeah. Well, I guess there's Savers, which is okay.
There's V-Tamer. That's the best.
It is the best. And Atmon. We still have Atmon and we still have Try.
Yeah, but V-Tamer's the best.
Probably. What are your thoughts on this ending compared with other seasons that we've seen?
So this is the weakest... How did 02?
Adventure? I think Adventure ends the best.
Yeah, of course it does. It has a whole episode about it. It's awesome.
Tamers ended with Genra's dad basically forcing them to go home because of the loophole that was in the code that he made Terry run was basically he was going to rewind them back to babies and kill them unless they went home.
And then Takato saw the portal.
Yes. So it was a bittersweet ending until Takato saw the portal.
Well, that made it sweet.
Yeah.
That was otherwise just bitter.
Oh, yeah, you're right. And 02 was just the epilogue, which I think they could have done well, but
What was the epilogue? I don't remember.
Miyako becomes a housewife and not a programmer.
Oh, yeah, the full adult one. Oh, this Frontier one is easily the weakest of all of them. Because in one hand, you have the culmination of the relationship between the kids and their Digimon, and it's great. It's the best one.
Adventure was the best ending.
Then, while people have problems with elements of the 02 one, it is both very clever and very interesting.
And it's also quite kind of sweet because
It
you
is.
find out that in the original, Takeru's voice actor that they use for the adult is the narrator we've had since Adventure, which says it ties it all together and this whole thing has just been Takeru writing about it, which you can also say how much of this is real.
And then you talk about how Tai is in the UN and there's all this cool stuff.
Which they're tying into in Try.
Tying in, I get it.
In Try, they're in the first chapter, they actually sort of planted those seeds that maybe he wants to travel. And Daigo says, what about becoming an ambassador?
Yeah, so there's lots of things there. And then and don't we know, doesn't it say that Joe drops out of law school or something? Not law school, medical school?
He becomes the digital world's first doctor.
Okay, yeah.
No, he doesn't drop out. No, he still becomes a doctor, but they don't actually say if he dropped out or not.
Okay.
He just becomes the
but
digital
he could
world.
drop out because they're not real people.
Yes, he could have dropped out.
And then
Iori becomes the defense attorney.
And it's a good ending.
Yeah, there are problems with it.
You don't like the housewife thing.
Yeah, but to be fair, the other ones, Sora's kind of a okay fashion designer, but then in Try, they're sort of planting those seeds where she helps Mimi, and that's fine. Mimi becomes a cook, but...
Then
in the CD drama, it's shown, she's just like her mum, she cooks weird things.
And that's why she's on TV. And so, that's fine. And then Tamers obviously has, it has a really interesting ending as a plot goes.
Wait, sorry, can I interrupt you? I'm just going to stop you right there. I'm really sorry. Yamato goes to Mars because he missed the moon?
Yeah.
I forgot that. Oh my god.
I don't remember that. I didn't remember that. Still don't. And then this one is just, and I got over all my problems. And that's it.
Yeah, it is I think it's the weakest ending.
It's easily the weakest ending. There's nothing interesting about it at all. You could have written this in your sleep and in your imagination and lost nothing.
But it didn't feel as meaningful as previous seasons. I don't feel like I had I didn't cry. I didn't even almost tear up.
Well, because their endings were just take the problems that they had and remove them. I
don't think I teared up in Tamers either, but I was still kind of I felt sad afterwards. I'm well, they're not, well, what about they not see their friends again?
Yeah.
In 02, I teared up because that's a huge payoff. They're all adults now.
In Zero Two and in Adventure, you could easily say, look at the character development these characters have had, and now that you've done that, apply that knowledge to the ending and see what you get. Okay, so you see how the characters deal with their Digimon, you see how the characters deal with their lives going forward. With Frontier, it's take the character development, and that supposedly is the ending. So Tai becoming the leader of the group should not be the ending of the show, right? He's not like, and now I learned to become a leader. No, it's becomes an ambassador, or he's dealing with Agumon in a certain way.
Yeah.
Like it translates further. It just doesn't here. It's God.
And Daisuke even has a nice ending. He becomes the noodle cart owner, and he just says, "Well, that's always been my dream." And everyone sort of goes, "That's a bit strange." He says,
He
"No,
deserves nothing better.
No, this is my dream, though. It's not to become a world famous football thing."
Oh no, he does become world famous though. I hate him.
He becomes successful. He becomes an entrepreneur, and that's fine.
I mean, no, it's not. I hate him.
It starts off with a little noodle cart that he started, and he loves it so much, and he grows it. It's cute.
May, I wish ill will on him and his family. Okay, you have to understand this. I do not like him.
Aww. And Hikari becomes a teacher and totally doesn't teach Takado in the Tamers universe.
Even though it's the voice.
And Ken becomes a private eye, I think, doesn't he? No,
Police officer? Detective?
I think no detective. He becomes a detective.
Yeah.
That's so cute. And he has like the long hair, and he looks like a huge nerd.
He is a huge nerd.
Yeah. And no, Zero Two actually had an okay. Like I have problems with it, but it's just kind of like it wasn't.
Well, the ending was one of the better parts of it.
Yes, I still think they should have at least referenced Miyako maybe being on maternity leave.
It'd be really interesting if people like played back to me what I said during the Zero Two ending. I was like, oh, this sucks, it's awful, what am I doing?
I think I was hella mad because of the whole Miyako thing, but
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure I've since been shown a CD drama where Hawkmon says, "Oh, but you're going back to work in a year, aren't you?"
It's all sold for you now.
But the CD dramas aren't necessarily canon.
But
If we accept that as being canon, it's just saying, well, Miyako's just had her like fourth baby, and once that can go to preschool, she's going to go back to work. I would have liked if they actually said that in the show, like, well, because they just said Miyako is married to Ken and has babies.
I think the problem with that is it's like it's a kid's show and they're not going to understand what maternity leave is. They don't care.
Or she's on break from work at the moment, but she's programming from home. I don't know. It would have been a great thing. Like, oh, she's still a programmer. She works
This
with
is Miyako.
Koshiro.
She has postnatal depression.
Oh, that's silly. Oh, can we not? I'm pretty sure, and I might be misremembering this, but I think in the CD drama it said that she actually works for the same company Koshiro works for.
Fair enough.
Because
And
they're
that's
both
why we never
programmers.
see her and try.
Uh-huh.
Also, he doesn't work for a company. He owns a company.
Well, no, maybe he does. Like, it's not actually said what the company he works for is. Like, he could be his own. Like, he could be the boss.
Yeah.
I have a few things that would have made this ending better.
Oh, really? Like anything?
First of all, Koichi staying dead.
Yes.
Sure, they can walk in on him in the operating theater, and then they just say it's too late. You can say your goodbyes.
Yes.
And then they learn to accept like, oh,
We can't always win.
We've done great things, but yeah, you can't always win. And that would be a great moment in Frontier because everyone always says, well, the kids don't always win.
And then they go, and also, like the last line is not we're friends forever, and also be careful on stairs.
Yeah. It's like a PSA for stare awareness.
The
for
longest
stareness.
PSA in the world for a stareness.
My other thing that would have made it better is what we mentioned before about how the kids should have become the ancient warriors, or at least new versions of them. Like, oh, I'm now Ultra Ancient Irismon. And not just Susanamon again. It felt like the episode fell flat because they just became Susanamon again.
Absolutely.
And not actually anything special. And I also wonder, what if the kids stayed in the digital world by choice? Or at least like did a Narnia thing where they just went, oh, let's stay here. And they all grow up and they become adults and they all have their lives and they work maybe in Flame Terminal and maybe they all work throughout the digital world helping respective parts. Like Izumi helps out in the Forest Terminal because that's where she got Fairymon. She helps out with the Floramon, or she helps out somewhere else, I don't know. And Junpei helps out with the Kakuamon in their factory. And they all have their special bits. And Koji helps out with the Gotsumon tribe.
There's no reason they couldn't have just said, and you know what, occasionally we go back to that elevator and we go back.
Or we try to go back or something. I don't know, it'd be a nice sort of thing. And then one day the portal opens up again and the kids are all in their 30s. And it's the same that happens in Narnia, in The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe.
I actually hate that.
And they go through the portal and they're kids again.
I actually always hated that. I remember seeing that in the movie and feeling ripped off. Like, because it tells you the story didn't happen.
Yeah.
Of course it happened to them, but like it means it didn't happen, and I hate that.
Or maybe if like the portal stays open, they discover the elevator can still work and they go back down and they can transport between the worlds. So they have like this double life. Or every so often they go into the digital world and they help. All they do is that they go around and, as I said, like they go to their respective places in the world where they've had developments or moments and they help out. Like maybe Junpei helps out the Kukumon factory. That'd be really cute. I wish that part came back. We never saw it again. That was one of the best episodes of Frontier. Not saying much, but still. So I just think that could have been a way to make it a little bit better. Another way is that Bokumon accidentally, when he gets the gun patchy, he actually falls, like, because gravity's weird where they are, falls forward into the portal and through the portal, goes to the real world, and accidentally destroys everything.
If the ending was the world being doomed?
Or, for some reason, Dynasmon comes back, uses Breath of Wyvern, and they end up on the moon. The moon's restored.
Solid.
Because really, what happened to the moon?
It's gone.
Because we didn't see the moon get restored, I'm pretty sure. I'm like 99.9% sure we did not see the moon get restored.
Oh well, they don't have a moon anymore, so goodbye tides. We don't need those.
Goodbye, Ty.
We don't need that.
For Screenshot of the Week this week, I had so many, and then all of Bokumon and Naemon, but I think I might actually have to go with Naemon giving himself the gun patchy, because it's such a cute moment. And also, another moment I liked was when Naemon said, "I will give you a stomach band snap if you don't listen to me." I think that was also very cute. And Bokumon and Naemon are probably the best parts of Frontier for me, or one of at least.
Easily the best part.
What was your screenshot?
I mentioned it earlier. It's Koichi in the bed with the oxygen mask on, because I'm like, I know that shot.
You know what it reminds me of?
What?
It reminds me of the "this kills the man" meme.
It does.
Picture of stairs. This kills the Koichi.
Good.
Poor Koichi. Like, I liked his character at least. The Digimon introduced this week, there were technically two. First of all, what do you think of Lucimon's Satan mode? I think he's really cool.
It's a big stupid dragon, and I hate when bad guys, their final form is big stupid dumb thing. I much prefer big stupid dumb things. Final form is man-sized thing. That's really awesome. Lucimon got less and less cool the more it evolved.
Yeah. Yeah, he was horrifying as a kid. Like, he was this little small kid. Yeah,
like,
and then he became Big Dinosaur.
Take Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, the best video game name ever, by the way. The final boss of that initially appears to be a giant Metal Gear. It's a big, stupid, stompy robot. But it turns out the final boss is like a one-on-one fight with a man-sized guy who you have a sword and he has his fists, and it's awesome. I think it sucks to be like, yeah, you have the one-on-one duel and it's really cool, and now he's a big monster and I hit him in the feet until he dies. This is lame.
Well, that kind of goes that way for the next Digimon that was introduced, which was the Larvae Lucemon.
No, that's not a man-sized thing. That's a part of the monster.
Yes, it's very
Let's be honest. They're not a different Digimon.
Okay.
In fact, they're so not a different Digimon, they never mention it.
Okay, it's basically his brain to some extent. But
It's a Caterpie.
It is the final big bad. Like, and it also is man-sized. Like, it's probably as big as the kids.
No, but it's not human-like.
No, I see your point, but like, almost.
It's just part of him. He may as well be shooting a rocket punch. It's just that, and the rocket punch has its brain inside. I come up with the worst analogies on the show.
Yeah, but no, you do a good job. I think it's fine. You come on the show.
It's like the bread's in jail, and then you cut the bread in half, and it's still in jail.
Yeah, well done. For Postmon Pat this week, first up, we have the weekly poll, which was, which Lucemon do you prefer? Lucemon or Lucemon Fall Down mode? So we had a total of 13 votes, so not a huge turnout, and 9 prefer Lucemon to Lucemon Fall Down mode, which only had 4. I would agree with this. I think that Lucemon is a much scarier villain in the way that he is smaller and doesn't look as threatening, and then we have Fall Down mode, which is basically just like, he's a wrestler. We had one comment, which was from Chakmon, and Chakmon said, cute angel or budget cosplay nightmare? Tough call.
Ooh, does that mean a nightmare is in the thing that is a bad dream? Or Nightmare from Soul Calibur, who kinda looks like this, actually?
Maybe that's what he meant. On Gmail, we have an email from Adam R, who says they love the show and they made a friend because of the podcast. So that's great to hear, so thank you.
Woo!
And I hope that you continue to love the show, and I hope you have a good friendship with this friend. It's
Do a good friend.
And as Frontier has taught us, friendship is great.
And also tears bring people back to life.
So if anything bad ever happens, just cry into your friend's eye.
It's really funny. Just holding your friend down, like holding their eye open.
If you ever have an argument, just cry.
Crying directly into it.
Like whenever Jay and I have an argument, I just say, quick, cry into my eye. It'll make everything better. The next Gmail is from Jason, who says that they never really were a huge fan of Sabers because it took itself too seriously and wasn't funny enough. And then they say that they still enjoy Frontier for its flaws, but Royal Knights arc is the worst part because every episode is interchangeable and didn't really need to happen.
Boy, is it.
Jason says that they are looking forward to watching Sabers with the show. So that's great. I hope Sabers is better than you initially thought it was, because hopefully it is, because I remember it being great, but it was probably more serious than the other seasons. And I would agree, it had less funny moments than other seasons.
We'll get there. I'll find out. On With the Will, we have one from McGann, who says, if the gender of one character in Frontier would have been changed, who would be the best choice? They say they suggest one of the twins, as they have darker personalities and they would be a good contrast.
I think that Koji would be a good contrast from Izumi, that how Izumi's all bouncy and happy and her story is, I want to be better with friends. Like, fine, keep that, whatever, I don't care. But if Koji's story was basically just like, I'm an introvert and a kind of a loner, but I don't really want to make friends. And Frontier's exactly the same at this point. The only thing that has changed is that Koji is a girl.
Switch to Kuya, keep the romance.
Yes, no, that'd be great.
Have the Goggle Kid be female for once. Just do it.
It does happen. There is a female Goggle Kid in the games.
That doesn't count.
She shows up in Cyber Sleuth.
That doesn't count.
I'm scared of her.
What?
She's scary.
What?
She's so excitable. I love her.
That's adorable. I want to see that. I'm not going to play a Cyber Sleuth to see it, but...
So she has a Vmon, or she's actually from the 3DS game.
Wait, hold on. So is she wearing the goggles in the...
Yes.
Is it the one with on the wrist?
No.
Multiple goggles in that game?
Yeah, look, it makes sense when she shows up.
It probably doesn't.
So she's actually from the 3DS game.
Uh-huh.
Which is Digimon World Redigitized.
Is this a Rio situation?
It makes sense if you play the game.
Oh, it probably doesn't.
So she has a Vmon, but she calls it Vivi. And her Vivi's actually one of the Royal Knights.
Oh my god.
It's okay. Allforce Vidramon.
So, we're moving on.
So what I was saying was, I feel that the only reason Izumi got the whole, hey, making friends is great, is because she's a girl. Because Koji, if you remember, at the start of the show was kind of like, he didn't hate people, but he liked his own company. And his story arc didn't involve, hey, I know how to make friends now I'm going to have 20 friends. Izumi's did for some reason. And I feel like 20 is a bit excessive. Like, now I have skills on how to make friends happy without following them around, which is what they want me to do. Who do you think would be a better... you said Takuya.
I already answered you.
I think Takuya would be a great girl.
If Frontier had a sequel and the spirits were reborn as their partners, do you think that'd be a good route? The answer is no, because all of the spirits are big people. The thing about Digimon as partners that makes them interesting is that they are in fact not people.
Except
this
for
one's a
Angelomon.
No, but that's not... That's an evolution.
Yeah.
I mean, the partners that they hang out with.
Yeah.
This is a dog. This is a cat. This is a lizard. This is a bug. Like, they're not people, right? So there's a distinction between the human characters and them. All of the human spirits, being the spirits reborn in this case, who'd be partners, are just people in armor who'd be the adults in the situation. Basically, they don't need partners then. And that was why it was weird that Angemon was like the kind of partner of those kids. It's weird. We got one from Clank, who says that someone deserves a cookie for...
We do.
We deserve a cookie for going through the Royal Knights without murdering each other. I mean,
It came close.
It
I would appreciate a cookie, though, because cookies are great.
Making them tomorrow. Taking them to Magic. I'll save you some.
Yay.
In fact, you'll be around when I make them, so you can probably have them fresh.
Yay.
Chuckmon says, the worst part of episode 47-48 was the unnecessary destruction of all 3 moons. Damn it, that did happen. Forget the fact...
We were talking about it.
I know, but I kind of didn't believe it, because I was like, did I just missee it, or was I right? I don't know. Forget the fact that every kid survives completely unharmed. The moons being a safe haven was a good idea. They always thought that there was the 3 moons to match up with the 3 angels. If anyone's red, Cherubimon being blue and Seraphimon being yellow. But they can't find the record of any of that online.
So,
it might just be a coincidence.
I don't think that's right, because...
None of them are red.
No, there is. That there's a red, green, and blue one.
None of the angels are red.
No, I'm saying I don't think it is right. I mean, it's fine to have that as a headcanon, but I don't really think that's right, because the moons were probably there from the start of the digital world, the three angels only came at some point because of Lucemon.
But thematically in the show, it could be.
And this was after Lucemon had been imprisoned. Like the start of the world was like everything happening, and then a while later, Lucemon went crazy and had to be defeated by the ancient spirits, and they're ancients. That implies a long time ago. And then, once Lucemon was imprisoned, then the three angels were born to keep order and peace in the world.
And also, if the three moons were important as the three of them, they would have visited the third moon.
Yeah, or not destroy them.
Yeah.
But that's just what I think, though. I could
They
be
say
wrong.
that the Royal Knights die in a weak way, and Koichi's sacrifice is meh, given the build-up. Further, regarding Atmon 38, they love that Ray was in the cellar hideout and they found his way in, and how he tries to pick the lock. And Hyper Mary was funny, and also feel bad for I being left behind. And finally, V-Tamer Volume 3, they love the manga Taichi, and the battles are interesting.
They are.
For once. On Tumblr, we have an Anonymon who says that they're a little behind in the podcast, so you'll hear this later. But they just got to the episode where the two of us pointed out that it's weird and or funny that Lucemon has the same dub voice as Izzy. So they thought that we might be interested in some other funny trivia about Izzy's voice. In the dub of the anime Last Exile, there's a gay character named Luciola who has the same voice actor as Izzy. His boyfriend is voiced by Joshua Sheth, who is Ty.
That's cute.
That's voice. Oh, I guess Ty's not come back. Joshua's not coming back for that one. Only going back for Digimon. IRL Yuya.
I know. I just want to just while we're having that voice actor trivia, I posted a 2 screenshots, which is the message that Lucemon Satan mode displays on the billboards, which is
obey or die.
It's your choice. You went a bit Christopher Walken there.
It's your choice.
And in the dub it was, you must choose to follow me or be destroyed. So Razor Saw on Tumblr reblogged this and added, Lucemon was voiced by Ryusei Nakao, who did Frieza, whose main character points was that he was polite, even while being tyrannical and cruel.
Oh my god, that's why when he dies, he does the scream, and I go, that's a Frieza scream.
Yeah. So Razor Saw says that they imagine that this would be a clear reference to in the original version, them having the same voice actor and him being so polite.
Also, all of the my different modes. That's a Frieza thing.
Yeah. Well, I haven't seen.
You'll
Dragon
understand
Ball Z.
later.
I haven't seen Dragon Ball Z, so
Translation Ball Z.
It's Translation Ball Zedo.
Whatever.
If we're doing the original version, it's Zedo.
We're doing both.
Yeah, but it's Zedo.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
They say that... IRL Yuya says that Lucemon Fall Down mode is like a crap Dio from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and that is very true if you know what Dio's design looks like. And they also feel like a 12-year-old because of their reaction to rhythmic insertion.
Yeah, me too. Same.
I didn't, because I'm like, oh, it's a child who likes music. I get it. Oh man, my mind is too clean. Never thought I'd say that.
I think, since we're talking about Atmon, like, don't listen to this if you don't want to hear about Atmon. But I like how Ray's was just insertion.
We have a final Anonymon who says that in the episode 35 discussion of Atmon, I said that Eri's backstory came a bit too late. They disagree with me. Ever since Eri was first introduced, we saw a part of her backstory where she was alone and where she referenced her mother several times, and she always seemed sad when talking about her past and her mother. I guess I just miss all the mother stuff. Like, I knew her general backstory about liking idols, but I just feel like her mum never came up.
No, I think it did, but it didn't come out as just as much.
And they thought that the backstory came around the right time, including the mother, since it was built up through the show. I mean, I think they could have added the detail about the mum earlier, and that it would have changed very little, and just add a little bit more there and said, I have a family, not just I have a television, but
I have a pen.
I have an idol.
I have a plot.
Idol plot. Alright, everybody, join us for the next episode where we summarize Gakkou Gurashi, our favorite anime that wasn't this show.
But instead of doing that, we're going to cover Frontier overall and talk about things that we liked and things that we didn't like and things that we wish happened and things that we wish didn't happen.
You've ruined my joke.
I know. It's what I do.
Okay.
So this is your last week to answer our entire season discussion questions. They're on our website and we will link them out. So because we really do want as many people as possible to answer these. So we have the 4 questions about general Frontier related opinions, about best and worst of things. Then we have the poll, which is 0 to a Frontier, which is worse. Or
it's Frontier for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Then we have the survey, which is basically things about the podcast and your thoughts on the show. And we'd really appreciate if you answered that, and everything will be addressed in our summary episode, which is coming out next week. And as I mentioned, we're going to be recording episode 112 a day after we record episode 111, so Postmon Pat will not be included in that until a week after. So Postmon Pat will be edited onto the end of 112. So you can still send in Postmon Pat for the next week and the week after is what I'm saying.
Okay.
So for Weekly Wonders this week, I'm going to actually recommend a visual novel and an anime because the anime is based on a visual novel and it is probably one of my top animes of all time. It is called Higurashi, which is Higurashi When They Cry. I can't remember the exact
Bible
name.
Black?
What?
Nothing.
Anyway, so I recently bought the visual novels on Steam. Only the 5 of the chapters are up, and not all of them. I believe there's 8 main ones, and then there's an additional 4. So we don't have all of them out on Steam yet. But the anime has been completed for a number of years, probably about 10 years, and it is probably one of my favorite animes. It is so rewarding. The last episode just goes really well and makes the whole season worth it. There's not many times that I will say that an ending makes the whole journey through a season, through 2 seasons, which is what Higurashi has, feel worthwhile. But the finale of Higurashi Season 2 makes everything make sense.
Gurren Lagann, Kill la Kill, Avatar Last Airbender all do that.
I'm just saying, it just... Because Higurashi's done this weird way that the first half is something called a question arc, and the second half is an answer arc. So it basically, season 2 fills in all the questions that you have.
Yeah, so I have the first 5 parts of the game, and I never get into the answer arc.
No, chapter 5 is the first answer arc.
Great. I'll get some of the answers.
And I've been playing through the visual novel at the moment. I mean, I've only played maybe 30 minutes of it.
What are you, some kind of weeb?
Yes. But I have heard that a lot of people say that the visual novel is better than the anime.
Can't see that yet.
So I would highly recommend watching the anime if you don't want to wait for all the parts to come out on Steam, because it's 50 episodes long because it's 2 25-episode seasons. But it's good. It's really good. And if you like Higurashi, please talk to me about Higurashi because I have so many feelings about it. So many feelings about it. What's your weekly wonder?
So I just want to mention it because it's really cool. I haven't seen it yet. Does that break the rule? It's something I want to see.
I don't know, because I've often not recommended things because I haven't played them yet or read them.
Oh, that's really fair.
You must be enjoying something this week.
I've just been doing the same stuff I've always been doing.
What? You did nothing new this week.
I played lots of PUBG, man.
You can't just you just said. Oh, I guess you can say PUBG if you don't have anything better.
No, hold on. I've been reading. Okay, fine. I'll tell you about the book I'm reading right now.
Yep. Is it a comic book?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm reading a comic book. It's called Spider-Gwen. It's an alternate universe where Gwen Stacy was the one who got bitten by the radioactive spider. Then Peter Parker tried, and he died from the reaction. So Gwen is Spider-Man, and her name is Spider-Gwen.
I want a hoodie.
It's a weird, it's where things are a bit different. Frank Castle's family never died, so he just ended up on the police force. So that's the Punisher. And, things are a bit weird and a bit different. But, it's just this fun, adorable world where things are awesome. Mm-hmm. And she's a cool, great character who's still, all mouthy and
I really want a hoodie.
Sassy.
I want a hoodie so badly.
You can get them.
But they're really expensive.
Okay.
But a hoodie looks so warm and cuddly.
It does.
I love a hoodie. It's the best hoodie ever.
Uh-huh. Is that your weekly wonder? You like hoodies?
Yeah, I like hoodies.
Are you a gremlin?
I'm a big hoodie gremlin.
There it is.
I love hoodies so much. They're so warm and they're so safe. They are. Look, hoodies are my safe place. Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to curl up in one and just be I'll what I do at work is I'll sit in my hoodie and I'll be at my desk and I'll be nibbling on a biscuit. And one time I was eating lots and lots of biscuits in the kitchen upstairs at work, and one of my coworkers just walked in and looked at me, and I just said, mouthful of biscuits, Don't judge me. And I had my hoodie was over my head, and I was just nibbling on a biscuit, going,
never put the biscuit down. You don't know my struggles.
Yeah, it was the day that I ate an entire thing of shortbread. That was that day. It was a beautiful day when I became the gremlin.
Oh no, the biggest greml.
I'm such a big greml.
Christ. Okay.
Right, we did it.
I did it, Reddit.
So, as I said before, please participate in our end of season questions, poll, and survey. And they'll be linked in the description, along with our weekly wonders, our screenshot of the week, and the link dump. And this week's weekly poll, which is also linked in the description, will be which would have made this episode better and the ending better. The kids' ancient spirit evolving to each of their respective ancient Digimon, Koichi actually dying and not being revived by the power of love and friendship, kids staying in the digital world, Pokemon following and causing the destruction of the real world, or other specifying comments, or nothing, it was perfect.
I hope that gets 0 votes. I hope that gets no votes.
Our Redbubble is also linked in the description, and you can buy not just shirts, and I was informed today by the Redbubble Twitter that the Redbubble stickers, if you put on the skateboard, actually make falling off your skateboard 37% less likely to hurt. That's a big percentage.
I don't think that's true.
That's something they tweeted. It can't be false. Redbubble would not lie to me.
You're telling me that tweets can't be lies?
No, never.
I think that US politics say otherwise.
No, it's... Look, I feel like tweets have very good covfefe, okay? So I just want to say that maybe consider, if you don't want to support us by Patreon, you can also support us by going on Redbubble and buying some sweet swag.
And then you'll get stuff
and
immediately.
And it says a digital enchilada on it.
I mean, you'll get stuff with Patreon, just once a month for each thing. But this you'll just have forever.
Yeah, it's a shirt or a rug. I think a rug is one of them. I think it's also Duna covers. Do you want us on a Duna cover? Do you want to sleep with us?
That's a dangerous promise.
Do you want stickers? Do you want scarves? I don't know. There's some cool stuff there. I kind of want to go back on and buy stuff. We bought some mugs. Mugs are good. You can put things in them.
I really like my mug, actually.
I'm so
happy with it.
I like my travel mug because I can be like a tea gremlin.
Good.
I drink a lot of tea, so it's effective.
Okay.
You can contact us and stay updated. You can email us at LostinTranslationmon@gmail.com, or you can comment on this episode or message us on SoundCloud. You can follow us on @TranslationMon on Twitter, and you can find us on LostinTranslationmon on Tumblr, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. We have a discussion thread on With the Will and a Reddit thread in the Digimon subreddit, and we'd really appreciate if you would review us on iTunes, Stitcher, or whatever podcast listening service you use. But if you do review us on iTunes, it is we really do appreciate it because it does show us up in the rankings, and we want more people to listen to us because we're great. Okay. No, that's not the reason. I would like it if we got more listens. It'd be great. It'd be good for my confidence. I'm trying to say this. It doesn't make me sound like a huge baby, but I'm just not. I'm just a gremlin. So you can find our weekly poll on our website, or as I mentioned, in the description, and you can vote in the weekly poll, or you can see our end of season questions, which you should probably answer. If you haven't already, please do it. You can also donate to our Patreon, which is linked in the description, from as little as $1 a month. And that gets you access to our list of Slack chat group, but there are higher levels with more rewards, such as notes, early episodes, and more.
Can I point out that, in fact, $1 a month Wick gets you access?
What?
$1 a month Wick gets you access.
I'm not sure how long that typo's been in there because I use a template.
Probably forever.
Like, I basically what I do is I have this main template, and then I just copy it every week, and I make changes to this template.
So, and thank you to our current Patreon supporters, Sam Krieger, who has a podcast called The Moncast, which talks about Pokemon and Digimon, Stevie, who is Stevie Padmon on Tumblr and is currently taking commissions, Wu Qinglong, who you can find at twitch.tv/Wu Qinglong, Metal Mamimon, Joe, Penguin Mage, Anime Guy, who is Anime Guy Kurosaki and the number 1 on YouTube, Chuckmon, Ishpal Bamba, Hiro Olato, who's at Hiro Olato on Twitter, Jason Morosky, Ryuchi, who is Frost Magic on Archive of Our Own, Stephen Rees, who is at Wildwing64 on Twitter, Kaidawashi, Mac, Noam, Riku, Red and Garen from the Versus podcast, which you can find on SoundCloud, Shisai, who you can follow at Shisai236 on Tumblr, Corey, Kyle, Delady Bugman, whose anime blog you can read at baguburagu.wordpress.com, Smile Wolfie, who is on Tapastic as Smile Wolfie and has a comic there called Eden of Melancholy, Tom, Glitchcoat, Azrael McCool, Nicholas, Matthew, Anthony, and Lismet.
You can also make a one-off donation on our PayPal, which you found linked in the description. It's paypal.me/Edgemon. Make sure let's know for the podcast. We'll see you guys next time for Frontier finishing up a ring. Bye. Bye.